Okay. Welcome to the June 14, 2017 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. At approximately 5:40 p.m. we entered into agenda review with the board and reviewed our agenda. At approximately 6:49 p.m. we entered executive session with a motion by member Christou and a second by member Larmore to discuss the Marcheron insurance claim, all voting in favor of entering executive session. We exited executive session at approximately 6:59 p.m. with member Christou and member Larmore seconding, all voting in favor to exit executive session. And then at approximately 7 p.m. we exited the agenda review with a motion by member Villano and a second by member Larmore, all signifying aye. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Present.
Mr. Lamore?
Present.
Mrs. Miller-Rivera?
Present.
Mr. Villano?
Present.
Mr. Tomaso?
Present.
5 present.
Okay. Joan, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just have a few items under supervisor's report. First of all, last evening I had the honor of attending the Schenectady County Legislature meeting where the Schenectady County Emergency Medical Services Committee earlier this year had accepted nominations for their annual EMS awards. And I'm just happy to read off names of several people and organizations who received awards through Schenectady County Emergency Medical Services Committee. Most of them are residents of the town of Rotterdam. So I just thought that I'd like to mention all that to you this evening. First of all, for Basic Life Support Provider of the Year, Kathy Fisher from the Potterville Volunteer Fire Company. Advanced Life Support Provider of the Year, Trevor Bellow from Rotterdam EMS. Basic Life Support Agency of the Year was Duanesburg Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Advanced Life Support Agency of the Year was our own Rotterdam EMS. Youth Provider of the Year was John Mulovic from Duanesburg Volunteer Ambulance Corps. EMS Communications Specialist of the Year, Don Girding, which is, again, he's a town resident. His dad also very involved in numerous groups in the town over the years and the fire company. Registered Professional Nurse of Excellence is Chelsea People from Ellis Hospital. And Physician of Excellence is Richard Lagasse from Ellis Medicine. So I just wanted to let you know that we have many people here from our own community who are recognized for their service to us in that capacity. Also, one of the resolutions we'll be voting on later this evening has to do with our workers' compensation. And earlier this year, I was not able, neither was our deputy supervisor, to attend the Association of Towns meeting, and we were given an award, which, and I'm not going to name the person who dropped it, but I got a little chip on it. But it's still very, very heavy, and it is the G. Jeffrey Haber Leadership Award, the Town of Rotterdam, and the New York State Comp Alliance. We just went out to informal bidding, if you will, for our compensation, and we've saved tens of thousands of dollars this year in our compensation numbers. So we'll have the final numbers soon, but it's quite a bit of money. More importantly, in my view, our volunteer fire companies and the volunteers who help us in throughout our community, the amount of money that they have to pay towards comp is actually reduced to the greatest amount. It is well over $20,000. So it's quite a bit of savings there for everyone. So I wanted to not only let you know that we as a community did receive an award, but more importantly that our town employees and others who work in our firematics here in our community are working very hard, and there's training for safety and so on and so forth. So it's really a testament to our leadership in our departments and in our town, and also the fire company. So I wanted to let you know that we have been recognized on a state level. The meeting for August has been changed yet again, and we do our best to do two things. One is to accommodate the vacations, but more importantly, to make sure that we can have our meetings scheduled on a Wednesday evening. And so the Rotterdam Town Board agenda session and meeting that was scheduled for Wednesday, or August 23rd at 5:30 and 7 p.m. will be held on Wednesday, August 9th at 5:30 and 7 p.m. respectively. So that's just a change. It has nothing to do with, believe it or not, but vacation schedules. We have to get a meeting in August, and this also gives us some flexibility for August. If we had to call for a special meeting, we'd have time towards the end of the month to do so. I don't see that happening, but I wanted you to know that. Yes. Something else. I want to wait until do the proclamation. If I could have Mr. Letarte come up and join me this evening. You see us sat all the way in the back of the room. It was a good spot. How you doing? Right. So, this is Herbert Letarte and his family. Want to introduce your family?
Yeah.
Mr. Letarte?
I'm here.
My wife Audrey, my son Herb, my grandson Lucas, my grandson Herb, my daughter-in-law Deb, my daughter Lori.
You got everybody? Anybody else hiding in there?
That's family.
All right.
Yeah, there you
Oh, great grandbaby? How many of those you have? Congratulations. Very good. Very good. Well, I am here to award you with a citation for your years of service. So if you will afford me a minute here or two, I'll read this out for everyone to hear. Whereas this citation is presented to Herbert Letarte Jr. in recognition of his 60 years of distinguished service as a volunteer firefighter and 50 years as fire commissioner with the Rotterdam Fire District Number 5, Pine Grove Volunteer Fire Department. And whereas Mr. Letarte's long and faithful service to the town of Rotterdam as a firefighter has been and continues to be an inspiration to other residents to serve our community. And whereas the benefits to the people of the town of protecting life and property over the years through your efforts must be considered as intangible because such quality of life is immeasurable. Now therefore, I, Stephen A. Thomasson, Supervisor of the Town of Rotterdam, on behalf of the Town Board, Town Administration, and grateful residents of the Town of Rotterdam, hereby commemorate this occasion and recognize you for your 60 years of faithful and untiring devotion to our community with this citation as a symbol of our deep gratitude for your public service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So go ahead. Tell us about it.
Between my son and my grandson, we have 112.
Wow, that's fantastic. So thank you. So that everyone knows, when we usually attend the annual installation dinners for the different fire companies in the town. Mr. Letarte was not available at that time. So, and because of his length of service, I thought it would be great to recognize him. And so he picked the date. I didn't pick the date. And I'm glad that there's a lot of people here to see that tonight because, one of the things that as a community, when it comes right down to the bottom line, we're here to serve and protect our community one way or another. And we may have differences from time to time in what that looks like, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to our fire and our police and our emergency medical services, I think we have a great group of people here that serve our community on a daily basis and not only protect us, but really do a lot. They're away from their families, evenings, weekends, first thing in the morning, when the rest of us are asleep. And so I want to thank everyone who's involved in any way in protecting and serving our community for that service. Thank you. And Mr. Letarte, thanks very much. And obviously you've been an inspiration to your children and your grandchildren. So I hope that tradition carries on into the future and the rest of the Letartes continue to live in Rotterdam and thrive. Thank you very much for your service. So at this time we have our public hearings. Excuse me. Public hearing one. Ms. Marco, would you read public hearing one and I'll make a statement if you want.
To create a new zoning classification of Chapter 270 zoning, Article 31, entitled Senior Living District.
Okay, so now, do we have anyone specifically for this public hearing, this one?
Number one.
Number one?
Well, they didn't say on
They didn't
here, so
say,
I'm
okay.
taking it's 3 and 4 that they.
So
want.
let me ask this. So, public hearing 1 and public hearing 2, were carried over from the last couple of meetings. The project itself, the scope of the project that was proposed before has changed from 1 and 2, if you will. So really, the public hearings for this evening are 3 and 4. So if I don't have any protests from the audience, if we close those 2 public hearings, we're closing the public hearings based on the original proposal. And we'll move forward on public hearings 3 and 4, which is the new proposal that has come in, which still addresses the project, still addresses the zone change, and so on. Is that okay? Do I have anyone saying no to that? Because we're going, and then on 3 and 4, I'm not going to close the public hearing on 3 and 4. We'll keep those open at least through the July meeting. Okay? Does everyone understand where I'm coming from?
Just as a point of order, I do plan on making a resolution after the public hearings to close the public hearings on 3 and 4.
Okay. All right, so read public hearing 1, if you will.
To create a new zoning classification of Chapter 270 zoning, Article 31 entitled Senior Living District, held open from the May 24, 2017 meeting.
So anyone to speak on public hearing 1 this evening? Anyone to speak on public hearing 1 this evening?
Classifications?
Well,
It's 3
Isn't
and
that
4.
3 and 4?
it
3 and
will
4,
actually be
right?
3 and 4.
It's the
This
same.
is actually moot because this
This is
proposal doesn't
the
exist anymore.
prior, right, this is the prior submission, Mr. Benson. So again, anyone to be heard on public hearing 1? Okay, no one to be heard on public hearing 1, I'll declare public hearing 1 closed this time. And move to public hearing 2.
To allow for a change of zone request from Lisi Senior Living LLC for property held in Rotterdam, New York, 12306, known as tax map number 71.5-5.112, 2188 Helderberg Avenue. 71.5-1-7.1, 2196 Helderberg Avenue. 71.5-1-5.111, 2200 Helderberg Avenue. 71.5-1-9, 2204 Helderberg Avenue. 71.5-1-8.111, no address. 71-5-1-8.112, 2208 Helderberg Avenue. 71.5-1-10.21, 2212 Helderberg Avenue. And 71.9-2-21.11 Browns Farm. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from agricultural A1 to Senior Living District SLD for a project to be known as the Whispering Pines Senior Living Community. The proposal is to generally consist of a senior living community with a mix of housing types, including independent living, single-family detached and townhomes, independent living apartment units, assisted living units, and memory care living units, along with a senior services center, a 9-hole executive golf course, a medical office urgent care facility, and associated parking, roadway, multi-use paths, and other improvements, all to be constructed on 96.5 acres east of Helderberg Avenue and west of the New York State Thruway I-90, held open from the May 24th, 2017 meeting.
Okay, anyone here to be heard on public hearing 2?
Yes.
Can we, okay, public hearing 2
This is-
is really public hearing 4, I know it was confusing. Public hearing 2 is the former proposal.
Okay.
Public hearing 4 is the new proposal.
So you want to close this?
I would like to move, yeah,
Okay.
so that we can move on.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
thank you very much, thank you. Anyone to be heard on public hearing 2? Okay, anyone to be heard on public hearing 2? I know I said it a few times, I'm not repeating myself I'll hear myself doing that on purpose. No? Okay, we'll declare public hearing 2 closed at this time. Thank you very much for your patience and your understanding. Ms. Marco, public hearing 3?
To create a new zoning classification of Chapter 270 zoning, Article 31, entitled Senior Living District, in recognition that the town of Rotterdam's current zoning law does not adequately address the housing needs of an aging senior population. This proposed district will specifically address zoning changes to allow for senior housing which meet the unique needs of senior citizens and allow seniors to age in place. The proposed district allows for single-family detached homes, townhomes, apartments, assisted living, and memory care housing. not to exceed 521 units, recreational facilities, and a senior service center. This second public hearing will allow the public to express further opinions, both for and against the proposed zoning district. The town of Rotterdam has made revisions to the original draft of the local law. The proposed senior living district now allows for 159 fewer housing units than originally proposed. No building within the district will be taller than 3 stories. An emergent or urgent care center within the senior living district is no longer permitted. So now everybody signed up, so Mr. Mintz, are you for public hearing 3 or 4?
Both.
Okay, so then you're going to do 3 right now.
Okay.
Your turn.
Did you, well, who signed up first?
He did. He did.
Okay, we're going to go in order, if that's okay. Thank
I have a question.
you. Mr. Mintz.
What is the basic difference between 3 and 4?
Well, the one is to create the zoning classification, and the other is to allow the zoning change.
At that particular location. What is a classification that would be throughout the town, that this classification exists? And then 4 is specifically applying that classification if it were to pass on that particular location.
Well, my name is Melvin Nintz, and I reside on Helderberg Avenue, 2273, for the record. I'll probably be repeating myself as you've heard me before, so I don't mean to bore you, but I probably will. I'm not going to be reading from any notes, as I usually
Stay
don't.
with the mic, I think people are having trouble hearing you.
Can you hear me now? Thank you. I normally can project without the microphone, but that's okay. I have a number of questions first, and I don't know if you can answer them or not. But on this project, I know it's been in existence and in planning for quite a while, and it just came to my attention approximately 4 weeks ago or thereabouts by an article in the Gazette. My question is, why the planning department, and shouldn't they have a public hearing on this type of a project because of its size? I don't know of or ever heard of a public hearing from the planning department or the planning board. Number 2, once a change has been made, which is a positive change in my mind, that they should go before the planning board a second time because it's a new project, different. There have been a number of major changes in the project, and to my knowledge, there isn't a public hearing from the planning board again. I don't know what the rules are, but I'm going to go back 30 or 40 years when the planning department in the town of Rotterdam had a public hearing on a project off of Helderberg Avenue, where they originally were going to plan 40 some odd homes, and then they allowed us to talk pertaining to that. That project has gone through since. So I'm concerned why now, on such a major project, if I'm wrong, please correct me, were there calls for public hearings on that project by the planning board, and where was it promoted or advertised?
I'll try to speak a little here too if she wants to. She has a major cold. But the planning commission did have a public hearing on this, on the original project, and the scope much larger than the new proposal. And they had made at that time a unanimous recommendation to the town board to change the zoning on that, in that area.
I understand
these parcels,
that.
okay, at that time. So that's why we moved forward with us for planning, for public hearings for the town board.
But now that the project has changed, doesn't that go before a planning board first to be approved or disapproved with the change from the original plan?
No.
Because it's not the same plan anymore. It has changed.
No, because the density of the plan has changed. It's less dense and less number of units, et
Well-
cetera. This, I mean, I'm just telling you the rules and
Okay,
regulations.
it's not acceptable to me, but I'll accept it.
Thank you, sir.
I believe that the planning board in the future, and this board, should make a ruling that anything of any magnitude, of some type, have public hearings allowing the public to speak at that level first, before they come to this board. The next thing I discovered was that on Helderberg Avenue, we have a project that was built a number of years ago at White Birch Nursery at that time, and White Birch Gardens. Very nice project. And it was also, at that time, my understanding, and I'll stand corrected, that it was a senior 55 years and older. And I have since found out, as of today, that they weren't able to fulfill the 55-year-old project as originally designed, and then since has allowed non-55-year-olds, and they have allowed younger people in there, which is, I have no objection to whatsoever, except what the project was originally planned for and what has ended up is two different things in this respect. I was told and said that this project would not necessarily have an impact on the schools. Well, the White Birch Gardens project has some younger people, to my understanding, and does begin to have an impact on the school. That's a concern I have on this project. But I am not against the project as far as having the homes and the three-story building. I'm against the project for any zone change of commercial. I'm a businessman. I respect the owners of the property. They're getting on in age. They would like to have an opportunity to sell the property. I respect that, and they're entitled to. But the zoning change to business, absolutely not. Now, I understand to maybe make the development more profitable and to be successful, it might need some retail. I don't think it should have it at all. From County Line Road to Curry Road is strictly residential community. And Rotterdam has a lovely words, a nice place to live. It's talking about residential. And I repeated to you before that there are $500,000 and $750,000 homes along this stretch, and less expensive homes, but it doesn't matter the price of the home. We don't want to have an opportunity of building something that brings down the values of the homes along that whole stretch. Now, there are other speakers that have other details. I'm asking this board to temporarily delay its vote tonight on this project.
We're not voting on the project tonight.
Thank you. I also discovered, and I wasn't aware, of the Senior Living District proposal local law, but in looking at it, and maybe this has been around for a year, and I don't want to show my stupidity and ignorance, which I am doing in a way, without realizing and starting to read this pamphlet of all the things that if you were to pass the Senior Living District, of all these things, cafeteria, clubhouse, daycare, fitness center, florist, food service, all these commercial kind of things going on, when we have that less than 10 minutes away from the project on Altamont Avenue, a florist, all kinds of restaurants up and down Curry Road, 5 minutes away. I'm asking you to review this ordinance, this law that you're doing. I'm asking you to listen to the residents in this area. They're the ones that are impacted. They're the ones that put you where you're sitting now, all of you, helping to sit where you are. I don't mean to indicate or threaten or anything like that. Please do not take it that way. But I'm concerned and worried about the way this thing has been going along. I know it's been a year, and my ignorance of not being aware of it except 4 weeks ago. I expect more of it to have been in the papers and on TV and doing something as massive, as important, as an impact in our area where we live. I'm not the kind of guy who says, not in my backyard, but in the sense I'm saying that at this time. Traffic. Now, there was a traffic study. Well, some of us sit out on the front lawn and watch the traffic go by and count the cars. in the morning, in a 2-hour period, and you'll hear from somebody concerning that. I'm asking you, and you said you're not voting for it today, I'm asking you to review this a little more intense and looking at what this senior living district law, with all these things that you've got listed, that I have just become aware of today. It gets me to worry how this whole process has gone along, and yet kind of quietly in one sense. I thank you for listening. I've had some other points, but I think other people will make some other points very vivid. We live along there. We know what the hell is going on along there. Thank you.
Howard Vincent, are you talking on number 3? Public hearing 3? No, you are 4? Okay. Paul Gimetti? Paul, this is for hearing 3, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Supervisor Thomas, I'm Paul Gimetti. Excuse me, I have a little allergy situation. I live in Duanesburg, but the first 29 years of my life, I was born and brought up here in Rotterdam, and lived the other remaining 29 in Duanesburg. And approaching my retirement, this project piqued my interest. I've read about it in the paper, and I know some of the participants involved. And I agree with this gentleman, you know, Rotterdam, motto, nice place to live. I'd like to come back to that. I'd like to have more services, and as I approach again my elder years, it's very convenient, I think, to have a house and the other services, independent, assisted, and nursing care, all in one location. I think the traffic issue, I understand, you know, but I think with seniors living in this place and with the assisted living and independent living, can't imagine that you're going to get too many 80-year-olds that are barely bedbound, you know, to be able to go out and truck around. I understand there are a lot of other homes, single-family homes. I think that's a good thing. That's what basically I'm interested in. I think that if you have certain retail facilities on the premises, that would prevent people from having more traffic, getting out into the road and going to the physical fitness places and so forth. So I think it is a good thing to have those things on the premises. It makes it convenient, reduces traffic, and so forth. I like the concept of this whole thing. I think it's a well-deserved and needed thing in the community. I understand and I respect people saying, you know, not in my backyard. That's very true. I don't want something won't break my backyard, but I think there are ordinances and laws that preclude that type of thing. I certainly wouldn't think they're going to have a house abutting the back of other people's homes. So I think it's within the law, and it makes good sense to do this. And I think it should be approved. I don't see why we wouldn't want Rotterdam to be a nicer place to live with these desired facilities that we need. I think Rotterdam is an ideal place for these types of senior homes. So, thank you.
Howard Vincent? Oh, I'm sorry. This is it for 3, I'm sorry.
That's it for 3,
That's it for
okay.
3. All the rest are 4. I'm sorry.
That's right, that's.
All the rest are 4.
Now we're talking about
Okay, just so that I make sure that no one walked in later. Anyone else on public hearing 3? Anyone else on public hearing 3? Anyone else on public hearing 3? All right, what I'm going to do is we're going to keep public hearing 3, open through our July meeting. Ms. Marco, let's start with public hearing 4.
I hereby make a motion closing public hearing 3.
Okay, we have a motion to close public hearing 3 by member Bolano, which I think you're going to limit more public discourse and discussion by making a motion like that. But so be it. And second by member Larmore.
Yes, I second it because I don't think we should be dragging things out we already have a lot of people on 2 meetings now telling us their feelings on it, and, you know, if I'm counting right, it's more like 90% against and 10% for. So I don't think we should just drag it out and drag it out. It's not good for anyone.
Let me just say this. When we start throwing percentages around, I think things can get somewhat confused. Because here's the thing. There are many people, whether they're in support or not, excuse me, could you, let's all maintain our composure and our civility, and I'll speak one at a time, if that's okay. I've heard from many people who are here tonight in person, who are supportive of the project. I've heard from many people here in person who are opposed to the project. And I think that, in my view, and I say it like this, in my view, everyone's reasoning is justified. No one has given me really an unjustifiable comment or reason. However, I'm looking deeper at some of the language that's even within the code, and that is, again, the proposed code, that's also not settled yet. That the issues when it comes to this, the question of what retail is and so on, there is a limit to how much retail can be in each building, which, if I remember the numbers, is maximum 750 square feet. I'm making that just as a disclosure for when you're hearing about things and you're looking at the actual, reading through the actual proposal, that you're able to make some other inferences about what it is that's being proposed. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that, you know, look really at the detail. And I'm saying this to all of you rather than deal strictly with emotion. I'm an emotional person, so don't misinterpret me at all. But at the same time, I have to look at it from a rational numbers, and I'm hearing everybody's comments, so all of it is here. On the question of trying to close a public hearing, I think that it's a mistake to close public hearings that have to do with anything of this magnitude. Okay, to Mr. Mintz's original point. We have done everything that we have to do from not just a language perspective, but more importantly, I'll say this to you, sir, that in the past, in this community, they've had public hearings and closed them before there was anything videoed, before there was anything in the newspaper, things were completed. We have not had, you know, we didn't have our community have discourse. Things were just done. We don't do that anymore. We are following a process and a procedure that is dictated in law, but more importantly, that's open and transparent, in my opinion. I think it would be a mistake to close, and I know that Mr. Christou has something he'd like to say.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. A couple of things on this. First of all, thank you, Mr. Supervisor, for offering to keep these public hearings open. I think my colleague, Mr. Milano, is interested in closing the public hearing because he's still counting the previous hearing as a public hearing. Is it appropriate to poll the audience and see if anybody objects to closing public hearing 3? Do you think that after you speak tonight, there will be more that needs to be said, or is going to start to get redundant? That's my question. Because what I don't want to see is Mr. Villano's motion go through, the public hearing gets closed, and then the scuttlebutt be, well, they didn't even give us a chance to speak. And that, I think that is the supervisor's here. Setting that aside for a moment, there's a few things that have been on my mind since the last meeting. First of all, it's with great pride to see this many people at a town meeting, okay? I made the inference last time. I feel like the priest at a holiday mass, okay? This is your town. This is your community. Mr. Mintz, you're not wrong. We represent the people that put us on this dais, and everybody else who even didn't vote for us, okay? But we are agents of the town, of the people of the town of Rotterdam, okay? Having said that, this, I can honestly say in my short political career, this is by far the most emotional and trying process that I have gone through. And the key word here is process. And even whether I've spoken to people for the project or against the project, my purpose has always been to preserve the process, okay? Because the process exists in order for everybody's voice to be heard. Everybody deserves to say what they have to say, and I thank everyone who spoke last time. I did take issue with one person. As I said, this was a very emotional topic, okay? And one person chose to get up and take advantage of people's emotion and turn it into a political campaign speech. And I find that inappropriate, and I felt obligated to say that. Okay, this is about the Whispering Pines development. This is about a potential zoning classification that's going to affect the town of Rotterdam for the next 50 years. This is about taking a piece of property that has been a golf course for the last, I don't know how many years, and turning into something else. It has nothing to do with politics. I will vigorously fight to keep the politics out of it. This is not a forum for campaign speeches, and even if you have the legal right to do it, just because you have the right to do something does not mean it's the right thing to do. So having said that, does anybody feel that this public hearing needs to go one more meeting?
No.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Please call for a vote, Mr. Supervisor.
I think you're making a huge mistake. That's my opinion, because let me just on the question before we move further. If it's okay, I'm going to mention something that I said to you today, Mr. Lisi. Because I called Mr. Lisi, and it was maybe a 30-second conversation, and the conversation was very simply this: because of not just the scope, but all of the comments that we've heard thus far, and even before this public hearing. I don't know what your decision is, or what I'm just going to say it. I told him that I think we need a full environmental impact statement for this project.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry. I told him that I think we need a full environmental impact statement for this project.
Correct.
And what that does is that really gets you to a point of where any questions that anyone might have, in my view, will be answered. And more importantly, and forgive me for saying it this way, but it really puts the onus on the developer to prove every single point. It doesn't put the onus on necessarily you or me. It puts the onus on the developer to show what is going to happen there, what the impacts are. I think that it's a mistake to close the public hearings, because while we see a lot of faces out there, most of the people that I see are the same people that were at the last couple of meetings, so I understand that. But in the back of the room, I see some folks that I have never seen at a hearing having to do with Whispering Pines, and I don't think they've spoken before. So I think it would be a mistake to close this public hearing to create the zoning classification. Now, if what your intended purpose is, in order to close the hearing, in order to have the steering committee or someone else come up with something different, we can just direct the steering committee to come up with some different language that has to do with senior living arrangements or senior living districts, which may mirror exactly as what is proposed, without obviously having the number of units and maybe the particular classifications of the type of housing as detailed as this plan is, if you will. Someone might come in with a different type of housing arrangement in a different proposal. But at the same time, I think it would be, again, a mistake to close the public hearing. But we have a motion by member Bolano and a second by member Larmore on closing the public hearing.
Summers, okay?
Please, go ahead. Yeah.
The one point I want to make, to Mr. Mintz, you said that you just found out about it like this last month. I've been on the town board for 3.5 years. I just found out about this project a little over maybe 2.5 months. And supposedly it's been in the works for 2 years.
That's not true.
Well,
That's
it hasn't been in the
absolutely
works
not
for only
true.
2.5 months.
You sat here for a presentation. Okay, it has not been 2.5 years. Let's stick to the facts, please, Mr. Lamar.
All I know is, I just found out of it, I've been on the town board for quite a while now. And so,
Everything is public.
Yeah, this is,
We're never getting into
right,
this.
see, you know what, you know what?
Not about you guys, this is about us.
Excuse me.
Correct,
There's no
correct,
question. No
right,
question.
but we have to stick to the facts.
But misinformation by omission or misinformation by design is wrong.
Right. Yeah, you did. This is a brand-new project since January.
I'd like to know why Mr. Volano wants to close it. Can you tell us why?
Absolutely. The thing is, I've spoken at great length about this project on many occasions, okay? And I certainly don't need to provide another long speech at this meeting. However, it's quite simple. I intend to call for a vote at the end of the meeting. I intend to call for a vote whether or not we intend to create the zone, not whether we are going to be changing that particular property to the zone, but simply to terminate the creation of the zone. This zone is going to require a lot of thought beyond what we have here. And whether or not this particular project can fit into this area or not, really the zone has to narrowly define exactly what we want to see in the future. There are places in this town where this project can go. There are many places that I can think of, and I'm certainly not a developer with the background of Mr. Lisi. He certainly can find a place that everybody would be happy. Places with appropriate traffic patterns. Places with open space. Maybe commercial frontage. Something that would fit in the character of the neighborhood. I am not ready to create a zone of this type because this zone is narrowly tailored for the project that they want. The thing is, there is another reason why I want to close public hearing. I expect, because I'm looking around, I'm seeing many of the same faces, I expect to hear many of the same speeches, and that's good. I am thrilled. I wish that I had this kind of audience at every meeting I have ever spoken at. For the last 4 years, and for the 4 years before that, I was coming to the meetings. All right, this is the environment that I want. This is democracy in action, but there has to be a close. Certainly, all of you have busy lives. Certainly, Mr. Lisi has other projects he could be working on, including, hopefully, another one in the town of Rotterdam, doing exactly the same thing. I love the concept. I do. But the alternative that the supervisor has discussed involves maybe spending another $500,000 of the developer's money to do an environmental impact study on the same location, to hear the same thoughts from the panel that's going to speak before us. I've heard you. I've received the emails.
Thank you.
I've taken the phone calls, as has everybody else on this board.
And
What I'm saying is, it's not that I don't want to hear more from you, it's that I don't want to see this continue to linger in having a sort of emasculate, I think I said that right, dangling over anybody's head.
That's right.
If the project is not going to proceed,
That's right.
let's get on with our lives and find a suitable location where the developer can still provide a much needed service, where the developer can still make money, because money is what runs us. We're a capitalist society, but there's a place that we could benefit from. Let's find that. It just happens, in my mind, not to be here.
And my only reason for polling the audience, is that I want to make sure everybody has spoken. If your ordinance tell me that we're okay with closing the public hearing, that's fine. But, again, as I said, and the other thing that I want to reiterate, there is not a single person on this dais who does not want to support our seniors, who does not like this concept. Conceptually, everybody likes it.
But let me say this. Let me just mention one thing, and I don't want anyone to misinterpret me. But you close this public hearing, it doesn't mean that you can't do what it says. Do you understand?
I guess at this point, I'm going to question.
All right.
Wait a minute. No, we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to have another public hearing.
That's right.
Okay? Everybody still gets to speak in the second public hearing. I'm not closing that one. Nobody is being disenfranchised here. And then at the end of the meeting, I'm going to call for a vote, which will either pass or fail on the creation of the zone.
Okay.
And then if it fails, at least there will be closure until January 1st.
Let me just for our purposes as well. And I mean, the developer's attorney is here. I know you have something to say. Please be brief, and I'll give you the moment because they want to vote on something here. But go ahead.
Well, the point here.
Go up to the mic, just because, I mean, we're a little bit out of order here, but I think that she obviously really wants to say something important. So go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, I did. I think there's a certain amount of confusion about the project and the local law. The local law is what changes the zoning. The project does not exist without the local law. So I understand that there's some sort of basic confusion about, you know, what's in front of you. But I just want to make the point that the developer, Lou, has worked very hard to change the project and make a lot of substantial changes. In addition to that, we have been working to get sign-offs from places like the New York State Department of Transportation. The New York State Department of Transportation sent in a letter today which said, "We agree with the conclusion of the reports that the proposed development will not have a significant impact on the adjacent state highway system. Based on the information provided, there should be coordination with our office,
How much did you pay?
but the minimal increase in delays at the intersections resulting from the proposed development does not warrant further mitigation." Now, we had a traffic study that was done by our consultant, that was reviewed by the town's consultant at my client's expense. Everyone who's reviewed this has agreed that there is not a transportation issue. In addition to that, we have a letter from the County of Schenectady, the Department of Engineering and Public Works, people who are even closer to the issue of traffic in this particular area. And they've basically taken no issue with the traffic impact evaluation report, and they've instead said that by moving the north entrance of the project, we have greatly improved the site distance. They are asking for us to maintain site clearing and get easements if necessary to continue the site clearing. Also, another very important point. One thing people may not be aware of is there was a protest petition, which the town clerk was kind enough to email to me, which was filed just yesterday. That protest petition, which is addressing the senior living district itself, is wrong in many respects. It has many people who have signed the petition who do not own land adjacent to the area to be rezoned. I think it's most likely a point of confusion because the area to be rezoned is towards the interior of the property and does not run along the exterior of the property. There's a Court of Appeals case called Edie, where the Court of Appeals has determined that it's appropriate to establish buffers like this, which we have attempted to do in this case. And the point of establishing the buffer was to make sure that we were preserving the space between our project and the area rezoned for our project and the people that live around it. So we have not had an opportunity, other than the most basic of moments, to look at that and demonstrate, at least in a way that could be helpful to the town board, the fact that the protest petitions are invalid. Lastly, we have also put together a letter responding to the allegations that were made last time that this would represent spot zoning. In point of fact, it would not represent spot zoning, and there is another case that occurred in a senior living project in the town of Bethlehem, which is almost exactly the same case, in which the Appellate Division, 3rd Department, in which we reside, upheld the rezoning for the purpose of having senior living district. Now, and I have copies of a letter. The other thing that I want to mention here is that we've listened to what people have had to say, and we have read Mr. West's letter with respect to the suggestion that a draft environmental impact statement should be done for this project. Now, the only party who can decide if a environmental impact statement should be done is the lead agency, and that's the town board. So it's entirely within your purview to require one, and frankly, we have no objection to it. And I'll just give this letter to Diane so she has it. Thank you.
Mr. Dodson, do you want to speak before or after we call the question?
Can we let her finish first, please? We're gonna go one at a time. We're gonna go one at a time. I apologize, no worries.
The other point I wanted to make is that in addition to the people that are here, there have been many letters of support for the project, and that would include a letter from Paul Tonko, who is very supportive of the project.
I'll have to call the roll.
Last,
I don't remember him being one of my constituents.
last, and then I'll be done. A lot of people have claimed that there will be an impact on the value of the land as a result of this project. We have looked at another very similar project called the Glen Eddy in the town of Niskayuna. And we looked at that over a period of years, and we have seen, based on the publicly available data, that the value of properties near the Glen Eddy have gone up. And they have gone up at a greater rate than they have elsewhere in the town of Niskayuna. So with this actual empirical information, we're demonstrating that at least in a similar facility, in a similar area very near here, there is no adverse impact on the property values. So again, I would just request that you not look at this as two separate things. This is a local law to amend the zoning for the project. The local law is key to amending the zoning. Without the local law, the project cannot proceed. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this, we have a motion on the floor. One moment, please, sir. One moment. Is it okay if I entertain other speakers during this time? Are you okay with that, or do we?
Do we want to call for the question?
And move to public hearing four.
Mr. Supervisor, the only
You want to go up to the podium, Mr. Dodson? Sure.
seeing we're a little out of order on things. And,
Well, we're not, let me make a correction. I don't want us to be contentious.
Yes, I'm not.
You're making the argument that we're being out of order. The one thing that's going on here, I think, is that I want to maintain public hearings, and I want the public to speak. Others want to close the public hearings, whatever their motivations are, So I'm having you come up. I don't think that you're listed to come up. I asked for, for the next public hearing. For the next public hearing. So I've just asked for people, so please, let's maintain some composure, let's maintain some civility, even though I keep hearing comments coming my way during the meeting. You know, we're trying to maintain an open dialogue. So go ahead, sir.
I thank you for the opportunity to speak. I was not planning on speaking relative to this local law. However, when the developer's attorney gets an opportunity to speak on a protest petition and is allowed for their viewpoint, I believe it is appropriate for the town board to allow the opposition view, okay, so that there is indeed full disclosure of the issues. Why did we have to submit a Section 265 petition? Because we went through public meetings again on the original project, and of course, there was many people opposed to this project for a variety of different reasons. So the developer, again's tactic, I'll say, is to prevent the people that are adjacent and opposite this project by providing a revised map in a public hearing that we were having for the original project to revise it, okay, that showed a line on there, okay, that was, quote, a buffer. The intent of that buffer was indeed to prevent the affected residents, okay, that are adjacent and opposite from having a say in this project, in effect, buffering them out and using the laws to do just that. You know, the troubling part of this whole process is I feel as though the developer's just shoving this down our throats, and he's doing everything in his power with his expertise, his money, and his political clout, okay, to force a project that is not wanted in this community. And I really think it's the public's right to know that there is a lot of rules and regulations that a developer can use, okay, against the people that have to live in these neighborhoods, okay? And I really think it's disingenuous, almost dishonest to come up here and talk about a Section 265 petition that is invalid. We had a goal, and I was personally the person that went to each resident to get this petition, not at the previous public hearing, but before, okay, because I knew exactly the tactic that was going to be pulled here by the developer. And I did get the adjacent and opposed residents, or opposite residents, not only for your original project, but also for the revised project. Because I knew you guys were going to come in here and say just what you did, okay? I believe, our attorney believes that the Section 265 petition is indeed valid, and that petition, just so the public knows, is it requires a vote, okay? And when that vote happens, it has to be a super majority vote. For this board, it requires 4 out of the 5 members, okay, for that vote. Very important for the residents that are affected by this project. I'm not going to spend here more time. There are other things I would like to address that were said. I'm going to save my time for the next public hearing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So let's call okay, so we have a motion. Let's get to that. We have a motion by member Bolano and a second by member Larmore to close public hearing 3. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo to close the public hearing.
I vote yes.
Mr. Lamore to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Mr. Bolano to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Mr. Tomazone to close the public hearing.
I have to vote no. I do not believe closing public hearings helps us. I do not. And you may not agree with me, that's fine. I believe public hearings are necessary in order for us to continue the dialogue on everything. And I think by closing it, we're doing a disservice to those people who are in support of the project or those people who are opposed to the project. Because, again, there are people here that are new that I haven't seen before. They're probably going to speak on public hearing 4. And whether they're, again, in support or opposed to the project is, we haven't even heard from them yet. So,
4 yes.
4 yes,
1 no,
1
so
no.
it is closed.
So public hearing is closed.
To allow for change of zone request from Lisi Senior Living LLC contract vendee for property located in Rotterdam, New York, 12306, known as tax map numbers 71.5-1-5.112-2188 Helderberg Avenue, 71.5-1-7.1-2196 Helderberg Avenue, 71.5-1-5.111 2200 Helderberg Avenue, 71.5-1-9-2204 Helderberg Avenue, 71.5-1-8.111 no address, 71-5-1-8.112 2208 Helderberg Avenue, 71.5-1-10.21 2212 Helderberg Avenue, and 71.9-2-21.11 Browns Farm. The applicant is requesting a change of zone from agricultural A1 to senior living district SLD for a project to be known as the Whispering Pines Senior Living Community. The proposal is to generally consist of a senior living community with a mix of housing types including independent living, single-family, detached, and townhomes, independent living apartment units, assisted living units, and memory care living units, along with a senior service center, a 9-hole executive golf course, and associated parking, roadways, multi-use paths, and other improvements, all to be constructed on a plus or minus 90 acres east of Helderberg Avenue and west of the New York State Thruway I-90. Ramon Copeland? Ramon. I'm sorry.
Good evening, everybody. To the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. For the record, my name is Ramon Copeland. I reside at 2209 Helderberg Avenue. I also like the record to show that I am opposed to the Whispering Pines project. Doesn't matter what zone you call it or what the numbers are, it shouldn't be there. This evening, I'd like to focus on traffic. Now, folks, I'm not an expert. I don't have a bunch of traffic studies and graphs and numbers to show you, but I do have simple common sense. And the simple common sense is this. This is what I will see in my window every night if this project goes through. I want everybody to know what this is. This is headlights. Because my house is directly across one of the entrances from this project. I know it may be a little dramatic, but I think I deserve to be dramatic, since this project will make a dramatic impact on my life and my family's life. You see, with the increase of people, there's no way you can tell what time people are becoming and going. A wise man once told me that if you build it, they will come. And we know this is true. And we know this is what's going to happen with Whispering Pines. With golf courses, fitness centers, personal care, recreation centers, conference halls, business facilities, outdoor gathering areas, all of these things open to the public, there's no doubt there's going to be more people and more traffic, regardless of what your studies say. 12 years ago, we purchased our house on Helderberg Avenue because it was a safe place to live. And Draper Mahonison High School was one of the best schools in the area to send your kids to. That will soon change. If Whispering Pines project gets approved, so I strongly urge our elected board members to listen to us, the voters, and vote no to the zone change. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor and members of the Rotterdam Town Board. My name is Del Pierce. I live at 2253 Gens Road and have been a resident there for 40 years. There's a couple things I want to talk about. The first thing is that this particular senior living facility is not the Shangri-La that has been portrayed as, for one simple reason. And I would take issue with the gentleman from Twinsburg who talked about nursing. There will be no nursing on that property. This is not a skilled nursing facility. There is no nursing home there. So what happens is, and I've lived it with very close family members and neighbors, people go through various stages, and it's nice to say that, well, or to imply that, okay, the people in Rotterdam, as they get older and age out, they can go to this place, and they can be with their friends, they can be with their neighbors, and they can finish their life out there. Well, I know from personal experience that that's not how most people finish out their lives. They have a fall, they succumb to the end stages of Alzheimer's, they get pneumonia, something happens, a bone breaks, a hip, whatever, they end up in a hospital. Because there's no skilled nursing at this particular facility, they go to a nursing home, not back to their friends and neighbors at this particular facility, not back to doing the things that they were doing before, or perhaps even living a sedentary lifestyle and having people come and visit them, because they'll have to go to wherever there is an opening in a nursing home. If they're fortunate enough to have a large sum of money, currently about $13,000 a month for a nursing home, they could probably go to a full service, if you will, facility such as Kingsway or the Eddy that was mentioned by the Developers Council earlier on. And you could get a individual housing, assisted living, memory care, and a nursing home if needed. And the reason, in case no one knows, and probably everybody knows this, the reason that there's not a nursing home being proposed is because it's not allowed by the state of New York. The state of New York determines how many nursing home beds there are, and they're not going to allow anybody to build any new ones, not anytime soon. So, I just wanted to make that perfectly clear. The second thing is I got thinking about, I usually read from notes, and I got thinking about, this is such an emotional issue, as the supervisor has stated, is that it doesn't matter if you're watching an old movie, Mr. Smith Comes to Washington, or if you're thinking about some of our early elected officials or anything along those lines. People come to this, whether it's this job in town hall, which is very important, or they're going to Washington, they go there to do the people's business. You've all been elected to do the people's business, as you've acknowledged. The people don't want this. They don't want it there. It's going to ruin that neighborhood. I couldn't believe the other day I saw another for sale sign out on Helderberg Avenue. People are deciding that they're going to vote with their feet and they're going to leave. I talked to another gentleman and he said, if this goes through, I'm out of here. I talked to a woman on Helderberg Avenue. If this goes through, I'm out of here. What you're doing is not the people's business. If you are indeed going to okay this, but you're doing the developer's business and the LLC's business. I would ask you, please, to do the people's business and do the right thing.
I live at 2253 Helderberg Avenue. The first thing I want to point out is the Glen Eddy. They have 84 apartments and 16 cottages, not quite the same as the size and scope of this project. So I don't think there's any comparison. The traffic is going to be affected by this. I sat on my porch one day and counted cars because nobody's counted cars yet. I haven't seen any strips counting cars. I counted 327 cars drive by my house between 6 and 8 a.m. one day. You could probably expect the same thing in the afternoon. You're talking about adding 269 units, excluding the assisted living and memory care unit. These are people that are definitely mobile, and they're 55 years old, many of them, still working, 2 cars. So you're talking about adding 538 cars, not including the trucks that will bring food in to the facility. You're not counting the people that will be working there all 3 shifts, shining their headlights in this gentleman's living room or bedroom while he's sleeping. Currently, there's 205 houses on the south side of the bridge from the bridge to County Line Road. You're going to add double that amount to that traffic. My neighbor's dog got killed the other day. Car never stopped. Dog got loose. He wasn't supposed to be loose. He got loose. Car hit him. There's little kids across the street. What if one of the kids had walked out and that car hit him? There's too much traffic already, and you're talking about adding a lot more. I just think it's crazy. I saw a family of 4. It was a husband and wife, a stroller, and a toddler, walking on the shoulder of Helderberg Avenue because there's no sidewalks. Cars are crossing the yellow line to avoid hitting them. It's a bad situation. I can't believe that there's even consideration for this project there. Could there be a housing project in there? Maybe, but nothing of this magnitude. There's one, you might as well say there's one entrance because both entrances and exits are on Helderberg Avenue. If you were going to take one of the exits over to 146, that'd be a different story. All the traffic wouldn't be coming on to Helderberg, but to add this kind of traffic to Helderberg is just, in my opinion, ridiculous. I've been there for over 40 years and I've seen the growth as developments were added, and you're talking about 10 times that in a span of 3 years. What I saw happen in 40 years. It's too much. I have some questions for the board too, and I could ask you, Supervisor, Mr. Supervisor. How many, have any of these houses been sold yet? Any of the 8 properties, the 71.5.1.5.112 and the rest of them?
Maybe, if you don't mind, ask the questions and we'll have the developer or one of his representatives answer those for you, okay? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Fair? Okay.
Okay, but I'd like to answer that.
Yeah.
If any of these properties have been sold, I think that's important. What about the water tower? I see you have this water tower study, and the proposal says to either repair or replace the tower on Helderberg Avenue.
That I can answer for you. So regardless of what happens, that's happening. That's going to happen. That's immaterial.
Do we know that that tower has the capacity to handle this new development?
Well, let me say this to you. There's a lot more work that needs to be done for not just the current draw, if you will, from our wells in Rotterdam that feed, especially the rest of the town, which is Water District 5. So that's one of the reasons why we have these resolutions on this evening, is for us to make improvements that hopefully the state will help us to reimburse us up to 60% of the cost. For many years now, the town has known that it needs more water storage. We need to get another well in over on Rice Road. Now, we do have a new well being built now that has to do with the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, and we can go through that at another time if you don't mind. You and I, if you like.
Sure.
But more importantly, let me know about this.
The tower, though, what areas does that tower service right now?
That tower serves the whole town. What happens is wherever these water tanks are, really service the entire town. They don't just service an area. So that's one of the misnomers, in my opinion.
It is.
Okay, now more importantly, that tower that's there has to be taken down and repainted, refurbished. That costs a lot of money, well over $1 million to do the job. So what we're looking at, and we have not made final determinations yet, what we're looking at is new tanks that have a glass line feature, just like the one we have out in Rotterdam Junction, which require little or no maintenance to them. So that as time goes on, we pay for the tank really once, and we don't have to pay for it again. The May Avenue tank that you can see from 890, you can see that it's rusted, it needs work. That one is in excess of $2 million to take that down, to shroud it, paint it, and service it. I mean, maybe closer to $3 million, I don't know. So one of the things that I'll tell you is this, is that our water system, regardless of what projects come into the community, need work. It needs work. And when I say needs work, what we have right now is adequate for our needs and future needs. So it's not a situation where we are at a point where we need to stop development. That is not the case. But more importantly, from my perspective, when we're looking at fire matters and we're looking at a lot of other issues, we all water our lawns at the same time of the day. Go figure. So what happens there is, is there a decline in water pressure between 7 and 9 p.m.? Probably if everybody's watering their lawns, you can't say that there isn't. There obviously is. So that's another thing that I've been thinking about, and we'll look through this with this water study, is maybe what we do is we do something different with our watering of our lawns, and we do it at different times in different parts of the community, different times of the day, different days of the week. I mean, I think that there's some things that we have to look at that make common sense for us, regardless of those, where the water tanks are. The water tanks are never filled to the top, because there's a valve there that will basically, a hole that basically will release the water. The water tanks all fill to the same level. So regardless of whether you're on May Avenue or on Helderberg Avenue or Bernard Street here, that water is all at the same level throughout the town. That's what creates the pressure. We need new water tanks. We need to expand. Now, why would we expand? My opinion is it's not just about future development. It's also, and we'll talk about this during one of the resolutions, it's also about selling water to other communities 5 or 10 years down the road, where we can also make money for the people in the water district and not have to raise water taxes, be in a position where we're determining our own destiny, and also assisting neighbors, because frankly, we are sitting on a gold mine on Rice Road, and we've got to get to a point where we're utilizing that gold mine to help everybody, not just the communities. So that's where we are with it. I mean, so know that
No, I understood how it worked.
Yeah, no, it's
I
okay.
saw the outline on District 5, and I thought,
Yeah,
if you have to add a tower
No.
to service an increase
No.
in living space, but now I understand. Okay.
no.
But this traffic thing, it's just crazy on Hellwood Avenue. You really, for somebody to sit back that doesn't live on Hellwood Avenue and have an opinion about what a slight increase in traffic this is going to be, to me is ludicrous. They need to park themselves on Hellwood Avenue, maybe rent there for a month and see how they like it, and see if they like their traffic increase doubled or tripled. It's not a good thing. The zoning, I'm totally against this spot zone, unless you're going to give it to all of us, because I have a few acres down the road on Heidelberg, and I'm thinking of either a gas station or a pig farm. Can I get zoning for that? Really? I mean, where do you cut this thing off? Where do you cut it off? Is there going to be a gas station on my land someday? I mean, what are we turning this into? This is a residential, agricultural area. This project doesn't belong there. And I hope the town votes it down. Thank you.
Mark Armstrong?
What was the last name?
Armstrong?
Armstrong.
My name is Mark Armstrong. I reside at 2188 Helderberg Avenue. And I'm a longtime resident of Rotterdam. I've lived on Helderberg Avenue for over 70 years. I was born on Helderberg Avenue. I'm probably the oldest remaining resident on Helderberg Avenue. I'm going to give you a different perspective. I own 3 of the parcels that are up for rezoning. I've owned over half a dozen properties on Helderberg Avenue and lived there. And as some of you know, we run Whispering Pines Golf Course, my 2 brothers and myself. We've run it for 52 years, to answer somebody's previous question as to how long we've been there. My father built the property in 1965, built the golf course, moved into that house, 2208 Helderberg Avenue in 1946, the year I was born. So I've seen this area go from a agricultural district. There were farms all up and down Helderberg Avenue when I was a kid, back in the 1950s, 1960s. I can go right down the street, starting at the high school. High school used to be the Gorga Farm. We used to get our fresh milk there every day. The O'Hare Farm, the Lasco Farm. 2 parcels are also the junior and senior high school. On the other side of the bridge, the Weaver Farm, right across from my house. The Weaver Farm is now currently all of those houses on the south side of Gents Road. Across the street, there was the McDonald Farm and the Flansburgh Farm. Those 2 parcels are part of the golf course today. Further down the street, Cipriana Terrace, that was the Relier Farm. Across the street, you know it as Ronnie Court. All of the longtime neighbors remember the Spring Farm. Ralph Spring used to farm that property for years. And behind that, there's, you know it as Helderberg Meadows. All of us longtime residents know it as the Diamond Farm and the Paprocki Farm. So, you know, where am I going with this? Well, progress occurs. Change happens, okay, as the Bob Dylan song. Times are changing. We're getting up in years and we're going to retire. So there's 2 things that are certainties. You know, death and taxes, everybody knows those 2. But we're going to sell the property. The golf course is going away. Regardless, status quo is not going to remain the same. It's just not. So Mr. Lisi has come in with a good offer. We think it's a good project. We're in favor of the project. We're in favor of the zone change. Now, if this zone change doesn't go through for some reason, if it doesn't get voted on, there are alternatives, okay? And I'm going to give you a few of those. But I want to just say one thing about all of this development that's occurred up and down the street over the years. You know, we've seen all the farms. And when I was a kid, this was an agricultural district. It's zoned A1. It isn't agricultural anymore. It's all residential. Okay, it's all homes. And this is the last remaining parcel in the eastern part of Rotterdam. It's a big parcel, it's a big chunk of land, 96 plus acres. And it's a valuable resource for the town. It's a valuable resource for a developer. Now, some developer is going to come in here and he's going to develop this property sooner or later. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but it's going to happen. So that's a certainty. It is going to happen. Now, here's your alternatives. Number one, all you people in the neighborhood that don't want to see a change, just pony up some money and make us an offer. We'll be glad to sell it to you. I'd like nothing more than to see the property remain as a golf course. It'd be great. It would make a great park for the town of Rotterdam. So I'm not holding my breath on that option. Okay, number two, maybe the town. The town can come up with some money and make a park out of it. From what I understand with the town's finances right now, I don't think that's a viable option. So I'm not holding my breath on that one either. So, now you've got some other options, okay? Now it's zoned agricultural. You don't need a zone change to have a development come in there. And if you look at the agricultural district regulations, in fact, I've got a copy of the town zone permitted uses in an agricultural district. Pardon me? Permitted uses under A1. You know, it's a pretty wide open zoning category right now. There's a lot of things that can happen in an A1 zone. And I'm sure, as Mr. Vincent said, we don't want a pig farm going in there, but it's permitted, okay? Here's some permitted uses. Farming, naturally, farms. Farms include a lot of things. Chicken farms, horse farms. So there's a possibility. You know, it could be any one of those things. I was surprised to learn that mobile homes are permitted in A1 zoning. Okay, it's a special use, but it is permitted. Affordable housing, subsidized housing for low-income people. That's a possibility. Okay. Golf courses are permitted naturally. Ski lifts, all kinds of things. You know, right now, I don't know how many of you know that. In fact, at the last meeting, there was a couple of ladies from Rosedale Meadows, the bordering property of the Brown Farm. And they were here to express their concerns about the odor being emanated from the ongoing composting facility that occurs on the Brown's property right now. That's permitted under A1 zoning. And I know if you're downwind from that composting facility, as those homes in Rosedale Meadows are, it's not a pleasant sight or a pleasant smell. So there's a lot of different uses. Okay, so you know, I would almost think those of you in the $500,000 and $600,000 and $700,000 homes, you know, if you really wanted to protect the value of your home, I think maybe a zone change would be a good idea. R1, it could be converted to R1. Okay, now 96 acres, 20,000 square foot per lot. You can probably put 150 houses in there. So I really have to ask you, would you rather have a senior development where seniors don't drive, and when they do drive, they drive in the off-peak hours, okay? And we've seen the traffic studies, and you know, everybody's going back and forth on the traffic studies. I think anybody who's skeptical about the traffic, you know what they need to do? They need to go down to Colbert Village, or they need to go down to Judson Meadows or Brandel Meadows, all of these senior developments that are in neighboring communities, and take a look at, just go park your car there like Mr. Vincent did. He counted the cars. Go count the cars, okay? Count it for yourself. You don't have to listen to a traffic study. Now, okay, now R1, let's talk about an R1 with 150 houses, 150, 160, I don't know how many houses you can get in there. The developer could tell you exactly. Each one of those houses is going to have 2 to 3 cars. And when they're going to be exiting, rush hour, that's right. And they're going to be coming home at 5 o'clock. Now, in addition to those houses with the cars, are also going to have 2 to 3 kids. The senior development doesn't have any kids. So that's going to put an impact on the school district, possibly raise your taxes, more buses coming in and out at rush hour time. So, you know, I guess the expression is pick your poison. Something's going to happen there. And personally, I think this is the best alternative. We've been stewards of that property for 52 years. We want to see what's good for the neighborhood. We want to see what's good for the housing values in the neighborhood. And I can tell you right now, as to Mr. Vincent's question, he wanted to know if any of the properties are sold. Well, I can just speak for the 3 parcels that I own. They're sold on a contingency that this goes through. If it doesn't go through, then we're back to square one. And being owners of the property, we're the ones that get to pick the developer. Okay? And we thought we picked a good developer here. He has a good reputation, he's well-financed, he's got a good project, a project that's good for the town, it's good for seniors, it's good for the school district, and it's good for the residents in the neighborhood. Now going back to a single-family residential development, you got to remember, one of the reasons that you can keep a golf course, that you can keep 40 acres of green space, is because you've got the density of these senior houses. If you don't have that, you don't have walking trails, and I see people walking up and down Helderberg Avenue all the time, okay? They're walking their dogs. What would you rather do, walk your dog on Helderberg Avenue against the traffic, or would you rather walk in Whispering Pines on a paved walking path amongst the trees, the ponds, the shrubbery? So I think that's a better option. I think it's about a better option for everybody, for the town. You know, I don't know. You know, if we took a town referendum, let's find out how many people actually support this. I think it's overwhelming if you took a town referendum. I think, judging by the majority of seniors in the town, I think seniors love this project, and I think it would be overwhelming support. I can understand, you know, there's winners and losers in every project. I can understand the concerns of the people in the neighborhood. You know, some people just don't want change. Some people are afraid of change. Some people, it's the not in my backyard syndrome. You know, they say they're for senior housing, but just don't put it in my backyard. They're for solar power, but don't put a solar collector in your backyard. So, cell phones, everybody wants cell phones, they don't want a cell tower in their backyard. So, you've got that mentality to deal with. Now, in closing, let me just say one thing about the project location. Now, I go around in the area and I see these housing developments like the Colberg Village and the Brandwell Meadows and the Judson Meadows. They're all over the place. They're a little bit smaller concept. They're in residential neighborhoods. That's where seniors want to live. They don't want to live out in West Rotterdam. They don't want to live on Mr. Bolano's suggestion. I heard him a couple board meetings ago. He said, Burdeck Street. Really? Burdeck Street?
Mariahville Road, but that area.
Well, I think if you had elderly, I don't know your family situation, but if you had grandparents or elderly parents, some loved ones that are getting up in years, I think if you gave them the choice, would they rather live on Burdeck Street or Mariahville Road as opposed to this development? I think, no, I'm not even going to answer. I think that's obvious. So I think that's the place you want it. You want it in a residential neighborhood. That's where seniors want to live. They don't want to live out in East Podunk. You know, they want to live right where all of you people live. You people have bought homes in Ronnie Court, Cipriana Terrace, the Netherlands. Why? Why? It's obvious. The services are there. The convenience is there. You've got the infrastructure. You know, I'm not knocking West Rotterdam. It's a great rural place to live if that's what you want. Seniors don't want that. They want convenience. They want to be near banks, shopping districts, stores. They want to go to their barber shop. All of those conveniences.
Driving.
So,
To get there.
let me just close by saying I hope the town can see their way through to vote for this project. Make Rotterdam a nicer place to live. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Armstrong.
Jack Johnson.
Jack Dodson, 1311 Cipriana Terrace. The process, Evan, the process. The process to establish a local law and change the zoning, as we can see, is complicated and difficult to comprehend for any of the affected residents in this town. It's quite a process. The advantage that the developer has is he has the resources, $87 million, the expertise, the political clout. And as he just mentioned to my wife, hopefully that we have a deep pocket to be able to fight this project because it's going through one way or another. That's what irritates us, okay? That's what this whole project is about, and the process. Now, as you guys know, I've spent a lot of time at Town Hall. I try to come up and do the due diligence. Every time I come to a meeting, I try to defend the other side of the equation here, okay? I'm not trying to be adversarial. I'm not trying to be mean-spirited in the board. I'm not trying to prevent Mr. Lisi from doing his job, his rightful job, which is development. What I'm trying to do again is protect this process. This process has been horrible for this job. I've been doing this type of work for 30 years for other communities. I've never seen something so dysfunctional as this project. And I'm not here to defend Larry. His comment was, geez, 2.5 months ago he found out about this project. Or Rick, I'm sorry. But in defense of some of the people in the town here, that's really what it's been like. I've told Evan from the very beginning, when you're proposing a project of this size, usually everyone's up front. Let's have full disclosure on a project. Let's have transparency. Let's have public information. And we don't have to have a public hearing right away. Whatever happened to just having a basic public information meeting and say, Mr. Developer, you come to some meetings and start informing the town of really what's going to go on here. In addition to that, as I mentioned, I've been to the town office several times to get information on this project. We were told at the last public meeting, we're going to set up a town website for this. It wasn't done right away. I think there was an effort. There was some information put on it. I went to the town yesterday and it was revised, which I'm okay with. You put a new tab up there that says senior living and a new tab. I looked at the information that was under there yesterday. Now keep in mind, this is 3 weeks after the meeting. There were some promises made that we would see information, okay? So that we would be, hold on, so that we would be in a position to be able to come to a meeting using our due diligence to defend our side. Again, today, I don't know if it happened sometime after Tuesday afternoon. Lo and behold, there's all this new information on the website again. Information that I've been trying to get for some time again. Specifically relating to, again, renderings. I've spent 2 months trying to get renderings. I was told I was going around the community saying there's 4-story buildings and all this. I look at the renderings that are in there today, and they're comparing 4-story buildings for this project to 3-story buildings. Well, Mr. Developer, when do we get 4-story buildings, and why is this even in here? Why would you submit on a previous project if you're about all the revised project? We looked at your renderings provided by CT Mail last time. We see buildings as you render back from Helleberg Avenue with your berm that looks like it's 3 stories. The ground is as level can be, and the buildings behind those are higher than the ones in front. That leads us to believe that, again, there's fishy stuff going on. This is about the process. The process should be is all the information that's available in public hearings, all the information that's available from the developer should rightfully be put either on the website, or someone should be able to come into town and access all the information. That has not been done on this project. So it's very difficult for people with limited means to be able to come to a meeting like this and actually talk intelligently about what's going on, okay?
Mr. Johnson, just give us a little detail on what information you're referring to.
More importantly, that's why the public hearing should be kept open.
No, listen, no.
I'm just
Well,
throwing it out.
listen, Mr. Supervisor, it's easy to keep a public hearing open when the information from 3 weeks ago is just getting on there from
I want to be
yesterday.
respectful to you, and I
I'm
have been.
sorry.
I have been, I think. As soon as we receive the information, we put it up. That's all I can tell
Do
you.
you think that's fair to us, though?
I'm telling you that as soon as we receive the information, we put it up. If you ask,
And I will commend the town.
if you ask for something, we sort it out and put it up.
Evan?
As soon as we receive it.
Evan, I gotta put you on the spot here. How many times have I asked for the renderings for this project?
At least since the last meeting.
Okay? Many, since the original meeting. I have not gotten them until today. That's not fair. I can tell you right now, again, not fair. What am I talking about again? And Diane, again, I thank you very much. There is information that gets on there. I just don't understand why it takes so long to get on there. I'm looking at stuff that was provided to me today. Geez, here's a comparison from an architect rendering that I've been after forever. Independent living, 4 stories, assisted living, care, 3 stories. And geez, there's the rendering showing the 3 and 4 story buildings from, different. Don't put that on the website at this point in time, again, if it doesn't apply.
That's the old
because-
project.
Why is it on the website?
There are no elevators on the new project. They don't exist.
My comment to the developer, again, is very easy to confuse the old with the new. Hold on. I made statements in the original meetings that there was 4 stories. You guys told me I was wrong. We need to have trust in the people we're dealing with. There's not been a lot of trust in
Mr.
this.
Dodson, if we can, and one of the things I want to do is, if you and I engage, I'm okay with that. I want to.
They spoke up, that's the only reason I defended myself.
I wish people wouldn't do that. Let's just, because I want to make the comments to the board so that we can have other people come on.
Yeah, I want to be able to speak to that. I'd love to hear this.
Again, I'll carry on. Board, now here is the rendering profile 2. As I indicated, here's the berm, here's the buildings up front. This scale is all on the same elevation. The buildings in the back are higher than the buildings in the front. Okay? Please give us an explanation for why that is the case. Again, getting support for the project, I heard that Congressman Taco provided his endorsement. I mean, seriously. Again, we appreciate it. We talk a lot about is there politics into this. I absolutely, as an engineer, I'm reaching out all the time to our elected representatives to get letters of support for projects. It's standard operating procedure. For me, it means nothing. Great, they got Senator Taco's. If I were Senator Taco, I would certainly be writing a letter in support of our project when his voting base is seniors. I mean, seriously, moving on. In addition to the Section 265 petition that we turned in, I am going to provide to Diane 150 signatures here of residents that are in the affected area. The affected area to us is all Helper Gap Avenue, Colonial Manor, and everything on the other side of the thruway. And there's an overwhelming, opposition to this project. Totally overwhelming opposition to the project. I will provide that to you at the end. We've been to several of these meetings. And I know that we've talked that the local law and its zone change are kind of one and the same for this project. I'm going to reiterate again that the local law number 2, the senior living district, still vague. I just saw another copy of it. I think I've been to the town 2 to 3 times since that last public hearing. I've asked for the local law. I've come in on Fridays. I haven't been able to get it. And the local law number 2 still is a mix of commercial, institution, and residential zoning. It's not consistent with the approved zoning. We think it's illegal spot zoning. That'll get challenged at some point in time. We'll see where we stand. The zone change, again, would allow uses wholly inconsistent with the character of the existing neighborhood, and again, would negatively impact the quality of life and property values for all the affected residents. Traffic and public safety issues associated with the increased traffic are indeed real, which will adversely affect the community character and the safety of the many children and adults who use Helderberg Avenue. We've indicated there's many other significant adverse impacts identified that would require the town board. A long time ago, we asked for a positive declaration. We know that you're the lead agency. You're the ones that would have had to do it. We're getting kind of late and beyond that now.
That is
The other thing we've said, again, is we've acknowledged that the affected residents are not opposed to affordable housing for the seniors in the town of Rotterdam. You can try to bait us and say that we're against seniors and stuff. It has nothing to do with that. The affected residents are not opposed to the development that is consistent with the character of our neighborhood. And we understand that the town has a mandate to provide a stable tax base and affordable housing for seniors. You're doing your job. We appreciate that. The Lisi Group is proposing, I think, a pretty impressive project for this town. But it's too massive for our little quaint community surrounding the Whispering Pines Golf Course. As we said before, we encourage them to propose a project in an alternate location that is consistent with their concept of assisted living and memory care in these big block buildings. The original and even the revised project, as proposed, again, are not consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and we say it's illegal spot zoning. Given the Lisi Group's reluctance to modify the project or move the project and the expected adverse impacts to the quality of life, property values, the character of the neighborhood, and public safety, again, we urge the town board to vote no for the proposed local law number 2 and the corresponding zone change. They have had opportunities, again, to provide all the information. And as I continue to state, this has all come in piecemeal. We still don't have completed files to really look at this project in detail. The public, how can the public do their due diligence if they can't go on a website and look at the information for this project? Why do we got to pull it out of people? I just don't understand that. I will provide that to Diane. There was some questions regarding water at the last meeting. I just want to address the fact that the supervisor did reach out, which I appreciate, to Ian, who's the water operator for the town, and some of the comments that I made at the previous meeting about Cipriana Terrace not having 20 PSI. They went up there and did their own testing and said, geez, it was like 39 PSI. I work with water operators every day, and Ian's a great guy. We probably talked for 20, 25 minutes about the town's water system. It's a passion of mine. And what he's indicated in this letter, a memo back to the town, is not correct. And one of the things that I mentioned to Ian, is you are required to provide, you being the town, operating a water system, 20 PSI of pressure at the highest elevation of the system, which is Cipriana Terrace, during a fire flow event. I'm going to ask the town, but the developer should have provided to the town a fire flow test that was done at Whispering Pines with someone measuring a residual pressure at Cipriana Terrace up on the hill between the two houses. I asked him, was that done? He goes, no, engineers do that. Okay? How can the town make decisions on things, okay, if they don't have the relevant information? You don't.
Don't misinterpret me here, but Ian's not here to...
But a letter was written?
Correct, but he's saying that it's 38.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying. If there's something else that we can do to test that for your...
I'm recommending it.
I'll advise Ian and we'll look at it. Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, this memo was put on the website.
That's correct, because I asked him to answer your
Okay.
question.
Where was the information that Mr. Dotson provided you in question of what was here? How come the public gets one side of this whole equation?
I don't understand what you mean.
Please go look at the town's website. There is nothing on that website from any affected resident's position on this entire job. It's all heavily in support of the developer's proposal here. There's not a single item on your website that is any comment from this entire meetings that we've had.
Forgive me, but we are putting... I understand what you're saying from a documented perspective, but we have the videos, the meetings, those are all public.
Mr.
If you want, let me finish, Mr. Dotson. You're asking me a question, and I feel compelled to respond. If you want me to put your petition online, I'd be happy to do that.
You should.
That's fine, but all I'm saying to you is that what has been requested of us was documentation from the developer and parties for the project. If you want me to put those petitions on, I'd be happy to make it.
Mr. Supervisor,
okay.
You're being a little coy with that answer.
No, I'm not being coy.
You should look at this. Did we talk about full transparency? What did you start your meeting off with tonight? It was my understanding you said, geez, you know, prior, this town used to be a town that wouldn't have a camera right there.
That's correct.
It was a town that did town business without public input. And then, geez, the town's wondering, geez, why are they doing this behind the scenes, okay? I look at this project, and I'm getting the same view. I'm sorry, there has not been full disclosure on this project. I'm sorry, it's evident if there were true full disclosure, the public who doesn't come to public meetings would have access to this documentation on the website. Okay, it has not been done.
Because he has to. So that's what I'm
So,
saying.
for the record then, Mr. Dodson, are you formally asking that the opposition's data be put on the website?
I'm saying that the town is required, okay, to have all the documentation, okay, in a central location. If you want to put it on the website, you could, but at a minimum, there should be a record of all your communications, okay, in a location in this town where anyone from the public can come in at any given time to review. That's how it used to be done. Now we have the beauty of the internet, okay, and you have the ability to post documentation online to allow anyone on their computer to come and get the facts from both sides of the equation here, okay? You know, time, we all know our time is valuable. People read this stuff sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. They're trying to stay abreast of what's going on. Other than coming to these meetings, okay, the majority of the people are not up to speed on this project. I've spent hundreds of hours on this job. It's something that I do for a living. It's certainly cut into my free time. I'm very knowledgeable about what's going on here. There's a lot of people in the know in this room that aren't necessarily providing information to the public on this project, so they can also be in the know. I really think that's wrong, and I don't think it's in the true spirit of full disclosure and transparency. That's my position on this project. And we're kind of dragging things out. Right down to how confusing is it coming to this meeting tonight when we had public hearing number 1 on a local law number 2. We have public hearing number 2 on zone change. We have public hearing number 3 on the revised new local law number 2. And then we have public hearing number 4 on the revised potential zone change, okay, from agriculture to the senior living district for a new proposed project. That's complicated for me, and I do this every day. How can you keep this stuff straight? That's my position. Again, I do not think by any means that this process has gone very well. I've made the comment to many people that, again, this project has been one of the most dysfunctional. You wonder how we get anything done in this country if we're dealing with a process that's comparable to the town of Rotterdam's process to get through this. You guys have the ability of a lead agency to be a very strong partner in this project. I have not seen you take any of your rights and responsibilities relating to a lead agency position, okay, and directing this project, either because you guys don't understand what a lead agency does as part of this process, and you're allowing the developer to drive it. But that is wrong. You are basically in between the developer and the public on this and trying to provide all the information and direct this project. And I think you've done a very, very poor job doing it. I hope moving forward that this project, this process, this transparency process gets much better for any future project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
I'd like to talk.
Hang on.
No, I got one more person.
We have other people for public hearing.
Yeah, I think we can end
No,
this.
we're
I
gonna-
think
we're
we
gonna-
can
we're gonna
end
end
this.
this. We're gonna
We're gonna end
Why are
it.
you gonna end it?
We're gonna end it, but before we end it, let me just say this. I understand, I've been an environmental attorney for 30 years, and I would just like to say to the town that you actually have done a fabulous job of following all of the required procedures at every step. In fact, this town had many public informational meetings starting in January and moving forward. In addition to that, you've had numerous opportunities for people to talk at public hearings. You've had a town designated engineer. You have done everything that you possibly could to keep people informed and involved in this project. However, at some point, it's necessary to bring it to an end when it's clear that this project is not going to be moving forward. So at this time, Lou would like to speak.
Yeah, to the court, you've helped quite a bit in this whole process, but at this point, we're going to withdraw our application for the zone change and for the use for Whispering Pines adult home. So it's off the table. We're done. So we're good to go.
Hey, you did it.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you hold on?
Lisa Dufek?
Can we please keep, can we, ladies and gentlemen, hear me now. Could you please, excuse me. Ladies and gentlemen, we have people who still are on the list for the public hearing, so I would appreciate if we could allow them, afford them an opportunity to speak. Could you hold on, please?
They don't have to.
Well, it's up to them whether they want to speak or not.
It's over.
No, actually, you're correct, Mr. Supervisor. You should be continuing.
Thank you. So, who else is on the?
I said Lisa Dufek?
Lisa, do you want to speak?
That's all right.
No?
No?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please, thank you. One of the most difficult jobs, you can't tell, is sitting up here when really I'd rather just come over there and talk face to face and sit across the table. It's just not it's how this is. You know, we have daises. But I appreciate Mr. Lisi's commitment for his project and what he's offering at this point in time. You did want to speak.
I just wanted to say that I withdraw, seeing that the project's been pulled.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so we have no one else in public hearing for?
No. Yes, me.
Okay, I guess we can declare public hearing.
You want to speak
You want to
again?
speak again?
Yeah.
Oh, please go ahead, Mr. Mintz. We have, no, I'm kidding. It's 3 minutes and 9. I'm just joking with you.
I won't take a lot of time. I would like to thank the people that are withdrawing their project, but I'd like to say to them that if they take a look and see if they can design a project for this land. I understand when I spoke a number of times, the golf course gentleman spoke with me. They want to retire. They want to sell their property. I respect the fact that we are in a residential area, and I would like the developer to take a hard look at this land area and to see if he's interested in doing something in the form of housing of that type or anything if it lends itself to that. I was never against that particular concept. And I'm asking the board also to look to pursue if there's anyone interested, because I understand this, the people that own the golf course, that they want to sell the property and they're entitled to sell it and do something with it. And I would appreciate if they would look forward.
Take a poll, see who would want single families there. Take a poll.
Of what?
Who, of all the opposition, who would allow single family homes to go back there? Take a poll.
Mr. Supervisor, is this out of order?
No, it's
The whole thing was out of order, really? I mean, you're gonna worry about it now, really?
Let's okay.
Seriously, you would actually.
Let's move on. We're gonna move on. I'm sorry? I didn't hear you. We're gonna move on. We're moving on to our next public hearing.
Our next public hearing?
We have another one.
Another totally other pot
A
topic.
question for the board before you move on. The developer has indicated that he's withdrawing the project, okay? We have an expectation that the town board is gonna follow through in regard to a motion that was made by Mr. Valano relative to a vote. And it would be our expectation to stay here tonight and see that actual vote happen, regardless of what the developer is doing.
First of all, there's nothing to vote.
He can
Mr.
bring this
Dodson.
project back tomorrow.
Zoning.
Hold on, slow down. Mr. Dodson, first of all, the zoning as is those property owners, I don't know what all the different property real estate contracts look like. In other words, If everything is contingent upon the zone change, if there is no zone change, those properties don't sell. They maintain their existing rezoning. What are you
I'm
referring
not
to?
talking about the zoning, I'm talking about, you started out with a proposed local law for a senior living district, okay? That was the start of this
Okay.
meeting,
Okay,
okay?
so let me answer that.
public hearing on it.
Let me just say one thing. Let me say one thing first, if you don't mind.
May I,
Because you
for
addressed
a
it.
change, please? I understand I'm not the chairman of the meeting.
No, but
don't
I have
wanna
one thing
gavel,
to say,
but-
one thing to say. What we're gonna do is, we have a steering committee. I'm going to involve them in helping craft two or three. Let me, if you
I'm
don't
gonna
mind,
call
let me-
for a
let me
vote.
finish.
Thank you. Call for a vote.
Call for a vote for what? Excuse me, I don't understand.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I hereby move
Zone change.
to add a resolution this evening
Yep.
to the end of the agenda, and then call for the vote on that matter first on the resolution section. On the matter of 2, create a new zoning classification of Chapter 270 zoning, Article 31, entitled Senior Living District. In recognition that the town of Rotterdam's current zoning law does not adequately address the housing needs of an aging senior population, this proposed district will specifically address zoning changes to allow for senior housing which meet the unique needs of senior citizens and to allow seniors to age in place. The proposed district allows a single-family detached homes, townhomes, apartments, assisted living, memory care housing not to exceed 521 units, recreational facilities, and senior service centers. The second public hearing will allow the public to address further opinions, blah, blah, blah. I hereby move that we create a new resolution and take up that zoning change and the creation of that zoning district now.
In other words, withdraw that. Are you asking to withdraw?
We have to put it to a vote, and then I plan on voting no on it.
So why would you vote no on creating something that's not created?
Well, the thing is, right,
Oh, yeah.
they want to vote. Basically, we are creating a negative declaration that we are not going to be passing this at this meeting. That's what they're
I
asking.
think we're not. I think the point is this, if I may, folks, if I may, okay? I think the point is that 3 and 4 are supposedly 2 separate entities. One is to create a zoning classification. The other is was to address applying that classification to a particular piece of property. If I'm understanding Mr. Villano's thing is, he wants to call the vote on yes or no to create the classification as the language is written today.
That's right.
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Want it
Yes.
gone.
I follow. But now, okay, yeah, I got you.
Okay.
So you're talking about this specific language here?
Yes.
But now,
Correct.
understand that I'm going to engage the steering committee.
As discussed in the
Discussed
agenda
earlier. Okay,
session.
all right, that's fine, all right, I wanted to be clear there.
And
So-
maybe we can find a suitable location for the project depending on,
Or suitable parameters for that location.
When you say suitable location, one of the things you have to, I guess, presupposes that someone's going to come back now that the board is saying no. So, or, someone else may come here now and say, boy, that town of Rotterdam is really great.
you place your bets and take your
So,
chances.
yeah, I know, I understand what you're saying. So from that perspective, I understand what you're proposing. You're trying to eliminate this particular section.
We are going to vote
Let
on
me finish,
that.
if you don't mind. Let me just,
Yes.
so that everyone
What I'm intending to
understands where
do
we're
is
going.
create a vote on that particular zoning district as it is written
Okay,
and let the board vote on it.
okay. But then what occurs later on, if we go create 2 or 3 different senior living district zoning classifications, that we're going to, right, you trying to steal my pen here or what? What are you doing?
There would be additional
is that-
public hearings
correct.
and
So that we-
additional
so that
process
we're disclosing what we're
involving
gonna do.
that location
Or any
with that
location.
zoning.
Or any
Well,
location.
the selected location.
No, that's not accurate. Well, what I'm telling you is,
Well, I
we're
guess
going to create senior living district zoning
Yeah.
classifications that include different elements,
Correct.
and we're not going to overlay those anywhere.
Correct.
Okay, what we're going to do is put them on the books, hopefully in the near future, this year.
Like we did the solar law.
So that we
Correct,
can,
I'm still with
so
you.
that we can afford the planning commission, the public, again, on particular zoning classifications, regardless of location.
Correct.
Okay,
I'm
all right,
still with you.
So that we're good.
Yes.
No, it's not an overlay, not an overlay. No, we would be creating, I think, a zoning classification.
Policy.
If,
Yes.
without amending,
Creating a policy for the future.
Unless, let me finish. Unless it becomes too cumbersome where we would rather have an overlay district. And that's something that we can discuss later, because we can still have mixed-use zoning and still have a mixed-use overlay. You could have senior living zoning and have a senior living overlay. And all that means is this. For example, with mixed use on Hamburg Street, we're looking at allowing mixed use along Hamburg Street. So that, in other words, if you have a one-family home or you have a business there, you continue whatever you're doing. But later on, if someone comes in and wants to buy 2 or 3 or 4 properties and take them down or do something to create a situation where they have commercial and residential, that's fine. With the senior living district, that would be if the town decided that in an area of the town, there's a senior living district 1, 2, 3, whatever it looks like. In an area, we could do an overlay to an area, and that matches, the area, the planning commission, the town board, et cetera. We could do that too, but we would need to put the zoning classifications on the books first.
I think that would be good, and then we could decide ultimately down the road what areas of the town it would be appropriate to have those zoning classifications.
I'm with you. Okay?
Call for a vote.
Well, we'll do that in the end when we create the class. We have to have, right. So, Mr. Valano has made a motion to
Basically move for the question.
Move for the question.
move for the question on number 3.
And I'm going to second it.
Okay, so we have a motion by member Valano and a second by member Larmore. And just as we go through, we'll hopefully each describe why we're voting a certain way. Oh yeah, we have to number it. We're going to number it, resolution number 202.17.
Well, I thought you said you closed the public hearing.
I didn't close 4. I didn't close 4.
Okay, all right. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
He's asking for a vote on 3, so what we'll do is we'll just
Move for the question, then close the hearing, and
So-
then go through the agenda.
Yeah, let's just.
Oh, yeah, we already closed on 3, so yes, that'll
Close
close.
on 3.
Yes.
Okay. So let's go to close, let me close 4. And we still have the question on the floor, okay? Is that all right with you?
Yes.
All right. So at this point in time, anyone else want to be heard on public hearing 4 at this time? Anyone else on public hearing 4 at this time? Anyone else on public hearing 4? Okay, declare public hearing 4 closed. Now, let's move in to, we should really move to 5 and bring back this.
So we can move for the question, do 5, and then.
All right, that's fine. So that's what you want to do.
This just puts it as a resolution.
Yeah, so we
Yes.
need a motion to take basically this out of order. Do we have a motion to?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Supervisor.
Motion by member Christou, a second
I'll second.
by member Larmore to take things out of order. All in favor? Ms. Marco, would you call the roll for that, please?
Mr. Christou?
To take the motion out of order, yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Townsend?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay. Now we have on the motion, resolution number 202.17 to eliminate the zoning classification, Chapter 270 zoning, Article 31 entitled Senior Living District.
Well, it's got to be in the positive.
Correct.
So the vote is
Correct.
to create the zone,
My apologies, correct.
right? And then people should, if you're in opposition, you would vote no.
Right, to create the zone, that's the way you want it titled, okay.
Yes.
So we have,
You're basically moving for the question number 3.
Well, I started making the motion, rather than me reading it to again,
to
create a new zoning classification entitled Senior Living District. Do you want me to read the whole paragraph
No, I
again?
mean, you're putting me into a box. I mean, I want to create a senior living district.
Okay, I will read the resolution in full.
No, I understand, we're taking this language that's there.
I will read it again.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. My motion is, now that we have the resolution 202.17, which we're taking out of order, to create a new zoning classification of Chapter 70 zoning, Article 31, entitled Senior Living District. The proposed district allowing for senior, single-family detached homes, townhomes, apartments, assisted living, memory care, housing, not to exceed 521 units, recreational facilities, and a senior services center. That is the motion.
Okay, and that's going to be resolution 201?
202.17.
202.17. And are we going to vote on that now and take it out of order? Is that what we voted?
Yes, we did. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, go ahead, I'll explain my vote, because I have reservations.
Well, we need a second on it.
So
I'll second it.
we
I
have a
already
second
thought I
by-
seconded it.
Yeah, you did it before, so we have a
Okay.
second. Motion by member Bolano, and a second by member Barmore,
Confusing.
to add 202.17. Okay. Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
As I said, this is by far the most challenging vote that I've had to make as an elected official. And I've asked myself some questions over and over and over again. Conceptually, I like the idea of a senior progression concept. There's two pieces. There's a zoning classification, and then there's the location. I don't want to speak to the location for many reasons, okay? So I'm going to focus my thought process on the zoning classification. The first question I ask myself, is there a significant comfort level with the current zoning language? The answer is, in my interpretation, is no. Is the zoning, does the zoning classification language leave opportunity to potentially change the dynamic of a neighborhood? Asking myself that, I feel the answer is yes. Do I believe that somewhere down the road, after review by a steering committee and further analysis and input from the public, a zoning classification for seniors should exist? Yes, I do. But as it is written today, as it is written, which is, for me, I think that this has to be looked at independent and separate from any particular project. I think we can address a senior housing zoning separately than, tying it to a particular proposal that's on a table. Having said that, I am going to vote no to create a senior living district at this time.
Mr. Lamore?
I'm going to vote no also, but similar reasons. I think when we were trying to set up this zoning change and everything, it was geared towards this one developer, and everything was kind of set up that way. We didn't even actually make the plan for the zoning. We just approved, some of our people approved it, but it wasn't what's best for the town. We need to sit down as a group and talk to all the different agencies within the town and come up with a good plan for the town, not for an individual developer. That's not what it's supposed to be about. We're supposed to do what's best for the town. And I don't think it's necessary, like most of us have been saying, it's not a bad idea. But you can't individualize everything for somebody you want to do business with. You got to do it for everybody that you might want to do business with. So it's got to be encompassing for any type of business, not just one or one person. So I'm saying no.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
With the language as written, I'm going to vote no.
Mr. Bolano?
I've been quite verbose. I've given a lot of reasons why this shouldn't go through. I could certainly go through all of them again. However, I don't think I want to take up either the time of the people nor even the time on those watching it on video. The thing is, and to keep it within a paragraph, I love the concept. I had a grandmother in Florida that went through this kind of aging in place situation. She loved it. It was good for her. It will be good for the residents. We need the rules in place, and we need the right location. Based on the amount of effort that Mr. Lisi has put into this development, I even believe that he's the right developer to ultimately bring it through to fruition. And I really hope that he does proceed and go forward. Hopefully taking into account what many of the people have said here tonight and at the last meeting. There are places available in the town of Rotterdam for such a development. And hopefully the door open, and I hope that the encouraging words of the deputy supervisor will encourage you to do that. The fact that the supervisor is calling the steering committee together to help put together rules and regulations going forward. Hopefully that will support your decision to continue to do business with the town of Rotterdam. Now, I realize I've already spoken over my paragraph. I would rely on all of my past comments about my reasoning. So, on the issue of voting to create a new zoning classification, I vote no.
Mr. Thomasone?
Okay, so this is very difficult for me for a lot of different reasons. Mostly is because, I feel that we haven't gotten to the point where we have all the information that we need for the project. I know that many of you have offered your concerns of one way or another, what it is that you believe, and whether it's with that or your own, I guess I want to say opinion, that you feel are negatives to the project or positives to this particular project, this location, the zoning. Very, very difficult for me to say yes or no, honestly. Mostly because I believe that we don't have all the information together. And I believe that for us to make a determination to a particular location, zoning, etc., I can't vote yes or no. I have to abstain from voting on this particular resolution. So to add to this resolution, because it's not just because of the having my conversation earlier today to ask for a full environmental. You can't hear me, Mr. Grant. Okay. My position today to ask the developer for a full environmental impact statement is very simple. Is because I don't think that all the information is available yet. And in order for us to make a determination, whether it's a zoning classification, whether it's the right location, etc. So I'm going to abstain.
So there's 4 no and 1 abstain, so it does not pass.
No, it doesn't pass.
It said to create a new zoning
Right.
classification.
That's correct, but
It fails.
It
fails.
Yeah, which is fine.
No, I'm saying we added the resolution here.
Correct.
There's
Yes.
the 4 no's, they said to create a new zoning classification. They said no.
I apologize, yes. The resolution, I'm sorry. What you wanted passes, in other words, it fails. Yes, I apologize. My apologies. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
It's been a long night.
You're right.
It's been a long night. I apologize. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
What you were trying to get at is effective. Thank you. Okay, so we closed number 4. Let's move on to number 5. We talk about water.
You ready? Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam will hold a public hearing to consider said map and as planned and estimate cost in the sum of $5,100,000, of which the town will file a grant application on or before June 23rd, 2017 with New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation to cover up to 60% of the capital project's cost and additions and improvements to the facilities and appurtenances throughout Consolidated Water District Number 5, and to hear all persons interested in the subject matter thereof concerning the same and to take action thereon as is required or authorized by law.
Okay, what do we have on number 5? Is Mr. Cole still here? Don? Would you guys mind just giving us a quick review of what we're going to do this evening?
Hi, I'm Doug Cole from McDonald Engineering, and I have Tom Bates here with me from my office. We're here tonight to go through the next steps in the Round 3 New York State Water Grants Program application. This is the program that provides for up to 60% of the grant funding for water projects. And the grants are capped at a $3 million maximum amount. We worked with town representatives over the past several months to identify issues with the water system and deficiencies and develop a project that kind of maximizes the town's grant application by providing a project cost of $5.1 million. You would max out your grant at the $3 million that's offered by the state. This grant application is due June 23rd, which is a week from this Friday. and we're working away on the 24-page grant application. But tonight, we have provided draft resolutions, 5 of them, that need to be passed tonight for the town to continue moving the process along. These are all required so that you can continue with the grant application. If you want to know a little bit more about the specifics of the project, I can tell a little bit about that.
My name is Tom Bates. I'm with John McDonald Engineering, and just as a quick overview of the improvements that we're looking at for the project, we were looking at improvements down at the well field, which right now there's a 5th well being built, as the supervisor had said, and when that's complete, you'll have redundancy at the well field, but you may not have enough flow to produce water for future needs, and also for added redundancy and reliability with the system. So we're looking at some improvements down at the well field that would address those issues. Another area that's has a number of problems is up on Princetown Road with the water main. As many of you, or all of you know, there was some major breaks over the past number of years. And part of this is to address the critical areas where you've been having breaks, and to replace the main up in that area with a new high-pressure main. And also, we're looking at putting some type of surge relief up in that area too, so that any surges won't overpressurize the pipe. And the third work we're looking at is the supervisor had mentioned is taking care of the 2 tanks that are exhibiting a lot of deterioration and rusting. And the May Avenue tank is a 2 million gallon elevated tank, and that needs recoating inside and out. And with the Helderberg tank, we're looking at the life cycle cost analysis for either completely recoating that inside and out, and the newer coating systems have a long lifespan as opposed to some of the older systems. And so that, compared to a glass line tank, we'd be looking at one or the other, whatever is the most cost effective for the town. And the final area would be to go in various areas of the distribution system, replacing isolation valves and fire hydrants and pipes that you're experiencing, a number of breaks and that sort of thing. So that's just a quick overview. And as Doug was saying, this process is very intense, and they really made the announcement about a month ago. And so I think they do that so that everybody, you need to be ready to get the project going. And the resolutions tonight are really geared towards showing that you have a complete application and that you've done all the legwork to get the work going. And they have to do with the public hearing, doing that. There's a bond resolution involved, and those are very important. We started you took the lead agency status about a month ago, and so that's ran its course. There was no comments. It's really all work on existing systems, so there weren't a lot of comments on that. So there would be a negative declaration is the other resolution, and then also that supervisor can sign all the forms that are involved with this. And the final is having an engineering contract in place. And all those together add points and help you with your score in the application. So that's my summary.
So one of the things I'll just say to that is that for the last year and change, we've been completing or looking at different elements of our water system and have engaged McDonald Engineering in various aspects of it. So for us to put this together in a short period of time is really because of what we've done collectively as a town, and also the good work of the engineering firm. So I want to thank you for all your hard work. I know that things are kind of down to the wire, but that's the way it works with the state, with a lot of these grants, as Tom indicated. You have to be ready. So a lot of the things that we're doing even throughout the rest of this year are going to be for planning for other grants that hopefully will come up next year along these same lines for water. So Let's, anyone else on public hearing 5? Tom, thank you. Or did you have a question? Go ahead, Rick. Go ahead, Rick.
I just want to check, we had spoken earlier meeting that for the, when we were putting for the grant, which we were saying is going to be about 3 million, which is 60%. Now, if we get turned down for the grant, then we're not obligated to that 5 million or something.
No.
No.
That's what I wanted.
And also the same with the engineering contract, if you decide not to proceed, then basically we wouldn't proceed with the contract.
And so the most important part is just that, right, Rick, as you said, we're borrowing money, but when we get the grant money in, we're paying off the bond.
Right.
And at the same time, hopefully, we have, the ability to attract more investment.
I just wanted.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, every fine.
Because I don't want to get the 5 million, and then we got to pay the whole shot.
No,
you're not obligated. You're not obligated to pay it. They like to see the bond resolution in and the estoppel and all and everything in order, and that really kind of shows that the town is going to proceed if you're an awardee of it. But
sounds great.
You're not dedicating that. Don't have to spend.
Mr. Supervisor, Mr. Dodson, who's a water.
He wants to say something. Okay, thanks very much, Tom. Anyone else have questions? I'm sorry. No, for the engineers, no? Okay. Mr. Dodson, if you want to say something else?
1311 Cipriana Terrace. Again, I want to applaud the town's effort to, again, try to seek grant monies, obviously to defray costs associated with doing infrastructure improvements. I gotta get back to the full disclosure, again, on projects. I did have the opportunity to go on today on the website, and I pulled down the engineering study that was approved for this, okay? I have to say it's extremely vague. Okay, now I understand the intent. I mean, geez, I've heard, we're kind of under the gun. We got to get this in. I'm under the gun right now. I'm working on 5 of these. Okay, the 5 that I'm working on, none of them have an engineering report like this. None of them. I've heard from the town board again tonight that you guys have been planning for this for some period of time. Okay. If you had been planning for this for some period of time, I wouldn't be looking at this very brief engineering report for $5 million. And if I understand correctly tonight, I too am doing the seekers that are associated with getting these projects in to meet the requirements for the grant and the bond resolution that potentially have to go in. Is there a resolution already by the town, and is it in this meeting, basically allowing bonding to occur for a $5 million project without any public hearing associated with borrowing potential?
This is the public hearing.
Okay, so here it is. So you're borrowing $5 million, okay?
This is the public hearing, but the other requirements that are contained within the resolutions here, the backup documentation is there. More importantly, when I made that mention, we were working on this for some time. And again, when I say the words prior administrations, it's not a finger pointing exercise. The May Avenue tank has needed to be redone for quite some time. So the documentation exists. So we're not recreating the wheel. What we have here is a summation of what it is that we're doing and where we're going to be putting the money. And there's more work when I say more work, it's here. If you'd like copies of some other backup, I can.
I just was informed that this is a public hearing regarding borrowing $5 million for this water project. And pursuant to town law, the town board is required not only to tell us it's $5 million, okay, but that's the maximum amount to be expended. In addition to that, you guys are required to tell us what the impact is going to be to the benefited users of this town district. Please tell me how much the $5 million right now is going to impact my debt service associated with my town tax for this project. Because it's supposed to be in this report and it's not.
Okay. The money that we have, the funds that we have left in water rent, that we have currently in reserves as well. So we're using this next budget in order to flatten out any increase.
So I'm hearing at this town meeting that this $5 million is going to have no impact on any of the benefited users from a debt service standpoint.
That's not what I said. I didn't say no impact.
So I have to say, I'm all for you guys moving ahead with the funding, but once again, pursuant to town law, and this public hearing right now, you are in violation of town law because you don't have the requisite information to inform the public on what the impact of this project is going to be pursuant to town law.
Mr. Dodson, if you were the engineer on this project, what would you have expected to submit before this public hearing?
Okay, there would have been, once again, there would have been a full engineering report. You guys are talking about renovating 2 significant tanks in your water district, okay? The first thing I would be asking is you're going to take the Helderberg Avenue Cipriana tank offline, okay? It goes offline. There's been an engineering study done that says that tank can come off with that storage capacity, okay, and it will have no impact because they don't paint these tanks overnight. That's going to have no impact on pressures and flows within the town during this period of time. This engineering report would address how that's going to be dealt with. That tank is very close to residential homes that are in the area. When I design these projects, I talk to the public. There's potential for overspray on the painting. There's sandblasting. I guarantee you this estimate, okay, not that there's details in here, are they shrouding this tank, okay, when they're sandblasting it? The information and cost associated with doing that are not available in this report. It's lacking in significant detail to the point where I'd be really surprised when the health department reviews this report that they're going to say that it meets the requirements of an engineering report. And I'm only bringing this up. It's not again in opposition to the engineering firm, as I've been told that there's been significant time and effort put into planning for future, okay, in the community. And I just happen to see today that for Water District number 5, the same year we're proposing the development that we talked about, coincidentally, we're making improvements. And that obviously is important to me because, as I mentioned in that meeting, there's pressure issues here. There was no evaluation relative to the fact that, hey, from a hydraulic standpoint, can we increase or improve the pressures that are in the area? And that wasn't done as part of this engineering report again. There was some mention again tonight about, coding systems, okay? No detailed information in here on those coding systems, and I agree with the engineer, there are much better coding systems out there at this point in time than what may have been used in the past. Supervisor, you made a comment tonight about glass line bolted steel tanks. I've designed, I bet you 20 to 30 of them in my career. You know what the first question that people ask me about a bolted steel tank, glass line bolted steel tank in the area that it's going in? What do you think might be the first question they would ask me? And in the town of Rotterdam, you would never think about it. Well, what would you think would be the first question that someone asked me?
Earthquake?
No, we designed for all that good stuff. Glass line bolted steel tanks, unfortunately, people like to shoot at them. And they do it in the communities all the time. I gotta go, we gotta repair them all the time.
Everybody know that.
But it is indeed true. I mean, and unfortunately that happens. There's a glass coating on the inside, and they tell us all the time, don't worry about it, but yes, it has an impact. And despite what you said is, a glass line bolted steel tank, it is not a maintenance-free tank for life.
I didn't say it was maintenance.
By any means.
I said it was less maintenance.
I might even question that. They did make a statement in here that there would be a life cycle cost analysis done on that. It's not available. Again, I've done lots of life cycle cost analysis on tanks with painting versus bolted steel. This is an elevated, okay, I believe they're going to go with a concrete, similar to what I'm designing for the city of Rome right now, okay. I'd love to see the cost comparison for this. Again, I am not here to tell you not to move forward with the funding. Once again, it's not pursuant to town law because this is a public hearing. I could go to the state comptroller's office tomorrow, and I could basically say there was a public hearing held tonight for a $5 million project, which is in violation, and I would just give them this quick report right here, and they'd say, Mr. Dotson, you're correct. Now, do I want to do that? No. I know that you need, obviously, to repair this tank. What I'm asking for is, why can't the process just be correct?
The process is correct.
Okay.
And I don't want to sit here and argue with you. It's almost, it's 9:30.
Yeah, I want to go to sleep.
More importantly, order number 117, so let me read you what it says. It's hereby determined by the town board after public hearing, et cetera, that it is in the public interest to make the improvements described in the preambles thereof, and John M. McDonald Engineering is hereby directed to prepare definite plans and specifications therefore.
That's construction documents.
And make a careful estimate of the expense and with the assistance of the town attorney prepare post-contract basis to show the work. More importantly, what you're referring to, as far as the dollars and cents go, that will be part of what we will.
Now, it has to be done in the public hearing. In addition to that, you guys are also required.
Because I'm going to tell you this, in the past, I have not seen it, but I'm not going to go back and forth with you again on another matter this evening.
Mr. Supervisor, I'd offer two choices here. One is accept what I'm saying, okay, without the contingent of, sorry, Mr. Dotson, we're doing it my way.
And that's
or
what I'm telling you is I'm referring to the expertise of the engineers involved.
Okay. So,
the state of New York's let me finish. The state of New York's grant application process and what we have before us. And so I am proceeding with what the engineers have provided us.
Okay.
Now, no different than any other professional person that I would think, I'm going to tell you from my perspective in the course of business that I'm in, where if someone has a difference of opinion from what I do on a daily basis to what they do on a daily, in other words, when they're referring to a client, that's a difference of opinion. And I'm not going to go out and make a judgment unless that person has an opportunity to rebut. So let me just say this, and when it comes right down to it, I'm hoping that we can pass these resolutions without this grant money. The rest of the cost is going to come directly from the taxpayers in District 5.
And we don't know what the cost is.
With no grant money involved. This is a situation where we have an opportunity to receive grant money for multiple parts of our water system that are in dire need of repair.
I'll make two statements there. One is you're never going to get the points in the town of Rotterdam in order to get grant money because of our median household income, okay? And two is, if you, this grant application is due a week from Friday, okay? You're having your public hearing right now. If you would like me to challenge it, okay, I would be more than happy to deliver a challenge for this tomorrow or Friday to prevent you borrowing $5 million worth of money not pursuant to town law. That's your call, okay? Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on public hearing 5? Anyone else on public hearing 5? Anyone else on public hearing 5? Okay, we'll declare public hearing 5 closed at this time. We have public comment, privilege of the floor. Anyone with public comment?
I just want it on record that Robert and Nancy Picoli, 378 Gordon Road, they had to leave, they couldn't wait.
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you that I know that our code enforcement is working on matters that they called about. I spoke with code enforcement about some adjacent properties to theirs, and I believe one has already been taken care of and the other one is being worked on. So that's what I know. So I hope that if you could give me their name and address later, phone number, I'll call them myself.
Did you call privilege of the floor?
That's what I just called, yes.
Well, Mayor, you signed up for this too?
No, I just...
Go ahead.
I would like to, I don't know if you can do anything in the local paper, Gazette, but could there be some kind of itinerary, let's say, what is going to take place a week ahead of time of the town board meetings? Something where it's specifically Town of Rotterdam Board meeting date and what the itinerary is, so that if there's a public hearing on some particular subject, it's a week in advance. We're not relying on reporting by the Gazette reporters or anything. It's sort of the itinerary to sort of follow what I've been listening from different people, that it isn't such a surprise maybe or something. I'm not sure, I'm not clear on it, but I'd like you to look into maybe a process so that the people
Mr. Mintz,
in the town.
the public hearing is called from the previous meeting. So the last meeting you were at, we called for this public hearing.
Okay.
So it's announced there. And then, I believe on Friday before the board meeting, on the Friday before the board meeting, I'm going to say 90% of the agenda, or as you call it, the itinerary, is on the website. There are some last minute things based on deadlines that end up being added to our agenda. But in general, most of the, anytime it's a public hearing, we have a board meeting, we call for the public hearing effective the next meeting.
I
So it's there.
respect that, and I understand, and I miss some of the things. I use my excuse of 81 and a half to get it.
You should all have your energy at 81 and a half.
But the thing is, what I'm saying is, I took my computer and threw it out the window about 10 years ago because it broke down. So I don't do it on the computer, and I'm trying to look at the hard copy, as I call it, which is the Gazette, and if it's done a week before, no one can excuse or complain they missed it. I think you ought to look into it and see if the Gazette would create a section, Town of Rotterdam, board meeting date, this is the agenda. Thank you.
Mr. Metz, you can call the office on the Friday before, like he's talking about.
I don't want to bother.
No, I do. People that don't have computers, I give them the hard copy. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
Anyone else have public comment privilege of the floor? Okay, we're closed for public comment privilege of the floor. Mr. Kristen?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, based on the fact that we reviewed most of these during the agenda session, I would like for a consent agenda, is that what it's called? A consent agenda for resolutions number 180.17, 181.17, 182.17, 183.17, 184.17, 185.17, 186.17, 187.17, 188.17, 189.17, 190.17, 191.17, 192.17, 193.17, 194.17, 195.17, 196.17, and finally 197.17. I make a motion, we accept all those resolutions.
Okay, do we have a motion, or a second, excuse me?
I will.
To create a second, to create a consent agenda. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Member Christou, seconded by Member Milano, to create a consent agenda for resolutions 180.17 through 197.17, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
So it'll be Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Milano?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
All yes, Mr. Yates.
Okay, resolutions 180.17 through 197.17 are now as a consent agenda.
Correct.
Now we will vote on it as a consent agenda, okay?
Yes.
So please call the, so again, let me reiterate. We have a motion and a second, and voted in favor to create a consent agenda for resolutions 180.17 through 197.17. All voted in favor. So Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll for that?
Okay. Well, it's Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Milano?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
Okay, so all of them will have Christou and Milano, correct?
Yes, that's
Yes.
correct, and they will all be unanimously passed.
Okay, gotcha. So now we're on to 198.
Okay, now we're on to 198.17.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep, no problem.
Ready?
Yes, Dan.
Okay. Adopt and authorize the supervisor to sign negative declaration dated June 14, 2017 in connection with the Town of Rotterdam determination of a non-significance for water system improvements, and authorize the town supervisor and/or town designated engineer and/or town planner to prepare, file, publish, and distribute all documents as necessary to comply with 6 NYCRR Part 617 State Environmental Quality Review.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion, Mr.
Okay,
Supervisor.
motion by member Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by member Herrera. Anyone on the question?
The only thing I would indicate is, and I do plan on voting yes the next five, Mr. Dodson ended up bringing up some good points. I don't know whether, the advice is 100% accurate. This is certainly his line of work. I guess if I have to make a determination on it tonight or else we lose the grant money, with all deference to both sets of engineers that are telling me slightly different things, I guess I ultimately have to side on the possibility that we apply for and hopefully we get the grant money as opposed to foreclosing any possibility of that happening. So with that being said, I plan on voting yes, although I certainly do appreciate the advice that was given to us. I just don't have the ability to make a determination whether that's accurate or not at this point. So I'm going to have to vote yes.
Okay,
Anybody else?
no, any other discussion? Okay.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 198.17 passes. We have order 1.17.
In the matter of a proposed increase and improvement of the facilities of the Town of Rotterdam Consolidated Water District Number 5 in the Town of Rotterdam, County of Schenectady, New York, pursuant to Section 202B of the Town Law of the State of New York.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by member Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by member O'Donnell. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, order 1.17 passes. Resolution 199.17.
Authorize the supervisor to sign any and all documents, applications, and forms necessary for the NYSEFC administered in New York State. Grant funding in order to obtain financing for the capital improvements for the Consolidated Water District Number 5 to be completed, and further authorizes the supervisor of the Town of Rotterdam to sign and submit all necessary documents, applications, and forms on behalf of the Town of Rotterdam for the NYSEFC administered New York State WIIA grant funding, NYSEFC financing, and any other sources of grant funding for the capital improvements for the Consolidated Water District Number 5.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by member Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, second by member Larmore. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 199.17 passes. Resolution 200.17.
The Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam does hereby authorize an agreement with John M. McDonald Engineering located at 7 South Church Street, Schenectady, New York, 12305, to provide engineering services for capital improvements as outlined in the report entitled Water System Improvements Engineering Report, submitted May 24, 2017, in accordance with the requirements outlined in Section 202B of the Town Law of the State of New York, in an amount not to exceed $451,000.
451.
I said, did I say 450? I'm sorry,
Wait a minute, I thought you said
451,000.
460. I'm sorry, dear.
No.
I'm sorry. My
That's okay.
apologies. Not to exceed 451,000. Thank you. Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by member Valano. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by member Larmore. Anyone on the question?
No, Mr. Supervisor, I just want to establish that this fee is contingent on us receiving the grant and proceeding forward, correct?
Not to exceed, correct?
Not to exceed, correct.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct. Okay, so motion by member Valano, second by member Larmore. Anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll again?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution 200.17 passes. Resolution 201.17.
A resolution authorizing the issuance of a $5.1 million bond of the Town of Rotterdam pursuant to local finance law to finance $5.1 million estimated maximum cost of improvements to the municipal water system referred to as a Consolidated Water District Number 5 of the Town of Rotterdam.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Okay, motion by member Christie. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by member Larmore. Anyone on the question?
Again, we don't borrow this money if we don't get the grant.
Correct. Anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Lamore?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 201.17 passes. I wanted to mention earlier, but now it's late, hopefully some people are still watching the meeting. And for those of you that are here, I want you to, it would have been better with everybody else here. I apologize, Samantha, I got involved in the beginning of the meeting, I didn't give you the proper acknowledgement. Samantha, they've had, she and her husband Joel, and their young daughter Violet have a sister named Charlotte, who is 7 pounds 12 ounces. And what's her date of birth again?
May 24th.
So mark your calendars if you want to send gifts next year when she's 1. But congratulations to you and your family. And happy to have you back. Yes, absolutely.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, I like
Although this was a long meeting to come back.
I know how you did it. I know. But you did it. You're a trooper. Okay, anyone else for committee reports or miscellaneous tonight?
Mr. Supervisor, I move to adjourn.
Wow. Okay, we have a motion by member Christou, second by member Larmore to adjourn. Anyone in opposition? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, everyone, for being here.